Welcome back to more PoESports. It's been a while since we've been together, since Exilecon's grand finale race. Raiz, welcome back.
It's going to be a pretty exciting show today. I think a lot to learn for not just the viewers, but also the casters. Might be a little bit of a mess.
I've been studying furiously all weekend because it is such a new game in terms of racing compared to Path of Exile 1 that all of our foundations in PoE 1 account for very little. And Path of Exile racing is a very exciting time. This might be the first time for some of you folks seeing some Path of Exile racing. What is PoE racing? It is competitive simultaneous speedrunning. Players pit themselves against each other to try and complete various things in game as fast as possible in that race format. And today's race will be an any percent Act 3, and there is effectively a placing for each top class. So the first player of every class will be winning a Demigod's Virtue, a unique helmet that is going to be something that's going to be exceedingly rare. This is the first ever Path of Exile 2 race, and these will be the first ever ones of these produced. And if it's anything like what they did in the past with Path of Exile 1, these will, for a very long time, be trophies that will be something exclusive, something pretty cool to have on your account. So it's for bragging rights, but it's very well represented in game with that as well.
Demis are something very cherished in PoE 1. A lot of people regretting that they didn't participate in those old racing seasons. So I think the best time to get into PoE racing is right now.
A lot of the races have been practicing very furiously, and you're going to see some skills on display and some speeds running through those first 3 acts of the campaign that you have probably never seen before. And that said, I still expect there's going to be huge amounts of improvement over the next 3 weeks, just going week to week as we see people improving dramatically. So I'm very excited to share this race with you and some of the things I've learned from watching some of the VODs and interviewing some of the racers about some of the cool tricks and skips and techniques that they have. And I'm also very excited because for many of you, the class that I think is going to be doing the best today is not probably what many of you expect.
There might be a lot more warriors than many people anticipate. Exciting event, because most people think that, you know, where is the bad class? And also, just to mention, there is one really brutal rule when it comes to this. This is not a hardcore race, but it is a softcore race with a 1-minute death penalty. So if you die, which spoiler alert, it's gonna happen a lot.
Yes.
You're gonna have to stand around for 1 minute, and you're not gonna be able to do anything with your character.
Hopefully. 1 minute of pain and agony as you furiously click trying to move but are unable to move, watching that countdown happen. You know, keep your eyes peeled today, because you're going to see lots of cool things that you might be able to apply to your campaign leveling in the future that's going to speed you up, but also some things that you probably didn't really know that could be done with the combat in Path of Exile 2. All right, let's switch on over and we will get ourselves ready to broadcast and commentate the first ever Path of Exile 2 race. Here we have Angormus up in the top left. We have FaZe Plays up in the top right on a witch. Angormus, of course, on the warrior. We have Pilbrill down in the bottom left. Looks to be on a Sork. And we have Terrence.
I believe it is a mercenary for Terrence, yeah. And again, this is Angormus might be a new name for some of you guys, but FaZe, Pill, and Terrence are all very prominent PoE 1 racers with many demigods under their belt. We will be switching through different streams, checking out different players. We'll be keeping an eye on the ladder just to keep you guys informed and to try and stay tuned for those strategies that some of these players might be showcasing. So this is our starting layout, and you might already notice that there's a little bit of a difference on some of these players' screens. And Angormus specifically is running the ultra wide mode, which that's basically cheating. We're gonna get rid of that for the future races, but for this one right now, we weren't able to do.
I did want to note that the rules for the future races will be restricting to 16:9 for all players to keep a nice level playing field for people, but widescreen does confer some advantages in terms of finding some exits in several zones. So we will maybe see some players playing in the widescreen format, but in the future that will not be a thing for the official races, you know, just due to the fact that it's not as good a viewing experience for you fine folks. But nonetheless, we will do our best to zoom in on Angormus when they're doing some pretty interesting things. And I would actually love to get a zoom in on Angormus now as we move into the Miller, because there's some very cool stuff with the Miller that I would love you fine folks to see on the warrior. Note how Angormus immediately goes to position against this wall here to keep the Miller from moving around. And notice the in-place dodge rolls to dodge attacks and reposition, and how when the zombies are spawned, they're unable to effectively get to Aang as well. I love the timing on the double slam there as well, just while the miller's stunned, just using default attack, the mace strike. Otherwise, when they're regularly attacking for the higher DPS.
Absolutely
See those zombie
beautiful.
spawns now.
Yeah, this min-maxing is probably what we're going to be seeing throughout the entire race for Angormus. And yeah, you can see
unfortunate.
how
Yeah, no, unfortunate. A bad timing there and a bad positioning from Aang did cause him to get out of position, which led to the Miller charging after him, which is exactly what he wanted to avoid. So not an ideal Miller kill for Aang just there. Yeah, a nice little bit of currency dropping there for Aang as well, with a transmute going down and a few items. Those early items can indeed be pretty crucial. Any chance to get some movement speed boots or a damaged weapon, some gloves with damage. These sorts of things are what players are really looking for. So we do see Aang pick up a shield and a two-handed weapon. He'll be using the two-handed weapon a lot, and the shield later on, the shield and one-handed more for mobility later on as well. But it does depend a little bit on what type of weapons that he might find there. But yes, not an ideal Miller kill, unfortunately, getting a little bit out of position, but not enough to set him back too much. I'm looking forward to seeing what we see in Clearfell here. Ooh, a nice augmentation for FaZe there. As there's some interesting strategies that can be done to kill the mini-boss in this zone. If Aang, for example, can draw some wolves over to the boss.
And you might be also noticing that there is a especially funky layout going on right now. This race is a fixed seed layout, so every single player should have the exact same layout.
That is a very strange layout.
Yeah, that is not a layout I think that a lot of players are familiar with.
Yeah, that right elbow there with the that leads to nowhere is rather interesting. So everyone does have the same layout, and layouts are based on game modes as well. So this is a solo self-found softcore layout, which the players have been practicing on, but there are varieties within that. We do see Aang on the boss now. Ooh, going very low against Bearer of the Rotten Pack, but he's able to get that kill very swiftly there. One of the secrets to that kill for the warrior, yes, during the transition probably, is that you can draw the wolves over to them and use Bone Shatter to create an AoE proc that can deal lots of damage to the boss, killing them very quickly.
Yeah, and despite the fact that this is any percent run, players will be getting a lot of skill points. They will be getting a lot of these quests just for the sake of either the skill gems or the support gems, and then a little bit of character power in some cases as well. We might even be seeing some cauldron kills. Ooh, close. Yeah, again, it is very difficult to do these things, especially in Act 1. We're going to be seeing a lot of deaths, and every single minute counts, so you do not want to be standing around. In this case, FaZe manages to just barely survive, and with that, he will be taking down Beira of the Rotten something in the name.
Ooh, some magical boots there. Hopefully some nice movement speed for them. There are some of these earlier things that they vary from class to class as to what players are looking for specifically, but something that everyone wants is those movement speed on the boots as soon as possible. Another question people often ask that are new to racing is, why aren't they wearing chest armors? Quite often having one in their inventory, and that is because the chest armors have a implicit hidden movement speed penalty that players will try to avoid. So you might not see many people use a chest armor until
wait a minute
in a much later act, except Terrence.
Sarge died. Just as we were talking and watching FaZe, I believe. No, so I think we switched out FaZe for Sarge, and while we switched it out, Sarge was sitting around dead for that 1 minute on the boss that we were just talking about.
A rough time to swap to Sarge there, as he was. I saw the countdown in the chat as they were spam clicking, trying to move again. Yep. That is the pain of that. So already in the first zones here, seeing some early deaths. Angormus on the Devourer fight now, while Pilbril is on Bearer of the Rotten Pack, and seeing a fairly fast Devourer kill here, though it can be a little bit tricky with the Devourer ducking away underground quite often. Positioning of the little grubs can be used for Bone Shatter procs and things like that, but mostly at this point in the very early game, it is Bone Shatter.
Oh, so, very unfortunate. Just about to die. It goes on there. Little bit of a time loss for Angormus, but I gotta say, a player that's so far very much impressing me is Terrence, the German hope over here. He is really blasting right now and keeping up with Enormous on a Mercenary. And Mercenaries do get a lot of big power spikes in Act 1, so we might be seeing a very competitive run here from Terrence. Again, the demis are per class, so even though he's not necessarily competing against Angormus, he obviously does want to get that #1 overall, which, might be possible with the power of the Flash
Absolutely.
Grenade.
Yes, in week 3 there is an exclusive Path of Exile custom laptop up for grabs for the #1 overall place in collaboration with Alienware. So the players will be trying to get that in the 3rd week, no doubt. But for this week, it is certainly for the bragging rights. But I love to see Terrence there on the Mercenary. I do love the Grenadier action. And we also see an interesting thing that I've noticed in some Mercenary practice, which is the using of the Cold Snap skill alongside of the grenades as an extra cooldown to throw down extra damage and get the chills and things like that.
Yeah, it's especially interesting watching the top right. As you can see, Sarge is a little bit behind, but he is also since we didn't introduce him, he's a very prominent PoE1 racer. He's been practicing a lot in PoE2. And most importantly, he is playing a monk. And you're going to be seeing a variety of skills coming up from Sarge. Right now, he is using that Glacial Cascade, but he might be sneaking in some caster skills later on just to min-max his run just a tiny little bit more. As right now, yeah, he is a little bit struggling on this Devourer, but very slowly it is going to go down.
Devourer can be a bit of a rascal. And I know some people might be wondering why they're doing Devourer when this is an any percent race. They don't technically need to kill Devourer, but there's a few reasons for that. And you'll actually see a lot of optional quests get done in Act 1 and potentially Act 2 because players need XP and they need skill gems. Those early skill gems, just for different classes, it's a little bit different, but those early skill gems make a huge difference to the amount of damage output you can do. Getting an extra skill or support gem is a big deal. And that's why we also saw just not long ago Pill and Angormus defeating the witch in the witch's cabin in the Grellwood there, which does drop a support gem as well. It's an early second support gem right after the quest. So 2 support gems is a big deal. Angormus, for example, is putting concentrated effect on their Mace Strike default skill for a damage boost. And they immediately want to try and get that second one as well so that they can get Shockwave on Bone Shatter, which Shockwave plus Bone Shatter is just insane AoE. And that, along with Perfect Strike later on that you'll see for single target, is one of the reasons why Warrior is excelling so well in these races, because just huge AoE and huge single target. Something I really want to point out for Angormus as well, I love how this looks. There is effectively a custom skill that Warrior players have created. They use the rolling slam skill's first strike, and then with a precise timing, there's a bit of leeway in it, but with a precise timing, they then effectively animation cancel into Bone Shatter, and that first slam causes the near stun, and the Bone Shatter procs it, getting rid of the whole movement portion of that skill and creating a nice AoE clear combination there, rather than the default attack Bone Shatter that most people tend to use for its simplicity. So, but it looks like its own skill that the developers created. It's brilliant. So watch that slam into the Bone Shatter. It looks like an actual combination strike. It's it's I was blown away when I saw that for the first time. I was like, wow, a custom skill.
Yeah, just like in PoE1, animation canceling and really min-maxing your runs in such a way is all the difference maker. But in PoE2, in this case, I mean, it pretty much propelled Warrior from this class that many people didn't recognize as a strong class into probably the best one as we know right now for PoE2 speedrunning. So definitely extremely interesting, but we will be seeing a lot of animation canceling from a lot of different classes. Just the amount of time that you can save with this, just like in PoE1 with the old smoke mine tech or maybe leap slam canceling, it is an extremely big deal, especially with the limited amount of mobility that you get in Path of Exile 2.
We all knew that dodgeball was going to have a huge impact on the game as a whole and racing, and it really has, because there's a lot of dodge roll animation canceling for skills, especially for leap slam and shield charge, as you'll see later on. But also, yeah, the weaving of different skills together and things like that. I'm really been impressed to see how high the skill cap is for the physical gameplay here. There's definitely been discussion around the idea item RNG is much more unforgiving in Path of Exile 2 with not as many tools yet to address that. Hopefully something that improves over time for the racing scene. But right now, the actual physical skill cap of playing the game is so high, and it makes it really fun to watch these really good players who've been practicing a ton actually physically pilot their characters. It looks so good. Oh, I definitely want to point out Angormus here. If he can pull it off, he will use the ads to potentially nearly insta-kill the Rust King here. The idea is to stack as many of those ads on the Rust King as possible and use that like Rolling Slam Bone Shatter proc to get a huge kill. We've got the stun there. We might not actually see any ads here. Well, we should do in the second half of the health bar. We'll see if he can get a perfect positioning here on the ad proc for the giga damage. Oh, it's looking good. Oh my god, almost one shot from 50%. Look at that. Beautiful. We'll see some hopefully nice boss kills using that tech. Yeah, over the course of this race, in fact, there's quite a few good ones that can be pulled off like that. The Executioner is a particular favorite of mine.
Absolutely beautiful, and something that Warrior really, really needs in terms of the single target, as a lot of the other classes, like for instance, Monk gets the bell, I believe at level 6, which allows them to start really dealing single target for real, on some of the Rangers that we might be seeing in the future. That's going to be the Lightning Rod and Orb of Storms combination, if we do switch to them, if they are managing to remain competitive. And then, for Mercenary, it's a lot simpler than that. You just blast with the grenades. When you get level 10, it's going to be very, very effective. Although positioning is very, very important, because the delay on that explosive grenade early on is, I gotta say, quite tricky to get around.
Nice transmutation drop for Sarge too there. Those extra crafting materials early on here are really good for throwing on gloves or rings if you can potentially get your hands on some. Not to mention, of course, the weapons, but any of those extra damage rolls just have such a huge impact for all of these attack builds here in the early game. And
A rare weapon for Terrence. Sorry, Ziggy.
Ooh.
A rare weapon for
Oh, yeah,
Terrence. He was looking at it, licking his lips, thinking, this is going to be the weapon that's going to propel me into a personal best Act 1 run, but only 17 physical damage. And unfortunately, not quite going to be enough, although it is helping a lot. And when we were talking about gear specifically, it is a very important thing to mention that it's not just about the weapon necessarily, but also about the amount of survivability that you can get from your other items. Although, if you are speedrunning, the weapon is going to be one of the biggest factors there.
We will see that especially in Act 3, that survivability gets highly prioritized with players opting to use defensive skills more so than offensive ones as they speed run through almost the entirety of Act 3 without killing anything and trying to stay alive. So through some desperately underleveled zones. So we'll see some good fun deaths and trying to stay alive there in the future. Woody doing their best to take down the Rust King. Don't have access to that kind of stacking AoE tech just yet. Has to do things the old-fashioned way with just raw grit and determination. Grenades. My lord, that was a close call.
That is an
Eating
extremely
several
close
of the
call.
projectiles there, but Rudy just manages to, fully calculated, of course, confidently that damage was taken and survived. He didn't even break a sweat. Look, smiling
He
at the
broke a
Rust King kill.
smile. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
laughing
not
at
a
that.
sweat, but a smile.
He had the perfectly under control, and the boss goes down. Yeah, a little bit tricky on the mercenary again. Very high dependence on those heavy shots early on, but eventually that will be switched over to the grenades, and the same thing happening for Terrence, who I believe was struggling maybe a little bit more
Ooh.
with the layouts, considering how far behind he has fallen compared to how well he was doing previously. But I gotta say, a much smoother fight than Woody Joe's. Oh
Ooh.
my
Oh,
god, that was a
very nice big crit there. Oh, Regal Orb as well as a reward for Terrence. Very nice Rust King kill and nicely reward. He's going to have to drop some of that gear there.
he's getting
Bit
too
of,
many
panic.
items.
Too
Too much RNG.
gear. Too much gear, too much RNG. He's struggling to maintain it all there. Getting those items back to town is pretty important. Get extra crafting materials or gold in early on as well. Fuel that scroll addiction many of the players will have to ID massive amounts of loot. And later on, also get lots of items to get socket crafting as well for the attack characters. They will really need to get a lot of extra socketed items to disenchant, to break down for crafting materials later on. So all that planning forwards, but I do like that Regal there from Terrence. I do wonder how they're going to manage to take advantage of that one. Did see an early amulet drop for Terrence there, which is nice. Luck as well.
I think he might be keeping that Regal for an extremely long time. I believe the first extra projectile grenade crossbow that you get is at level 28, or maybe I think
Yes,
it's
the
28. So he
bombard.
might be keeping it all the
The
way until
bombard
then.
crossbow. The players will aim to get 28 to 30. Most of them will, depending on particular strategies and builds for the Act 3 run. So Bramblegast is not one I see too often. We see some in-combat crafting from Woody there. I love that.
And this is a
Bramblegast
risky boss to do it on too. This boss can hit you quite hard if you
Whoa,
don't quite
with that
dodge his
double
attacks.
slam, absolutely. Gets that stun,
Yeah.
buys themselves a reprieve, gets some nice damage off from some big grenade procs there. And hopefully getting that kill down nice and cleanly here and getting some nice rewards from the fight. A little bit of extra loot, not a lot to speak of, but mostly that boss kill is for the extra skill gem. Really going for that boss where most players don't does suggest to me that the mercenary has a specific skill that they want to pick up early here. So it might be interesting to see what that is, or if indeed it's just a little bit of extra damage. Something I didn't see Woody go for that he might not know about is you can actually skip
The
Una's
animation.
song there in the Grim Tangle by resetting at checkpoint when she starts singing. There's actually lots of lore skips that you can do in this run that I'll try and point out as we go, but I've already missed a ton of things from my notes. I'll try and keep up as much as I can. There's just too much going on.
Yeah, there's always just so much going on in terms of these races, so much to min-max, so much to pay attention to. And even that little bit that we were talking about, getting too much loot for turns earlier, I mean, that cost him a significant amount of time, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the items that he was picking up are going to influence his run in a positive way, you know? They just might be not quite good enough, as we are now watching Dr. Dexter, another PoE1 legend, fighting the, I believe, first boss in the graveyard.
It depends on the order you get.
Yeah,
One of
sometimes
the
you can
two.
get the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the two in Cemetery is Sinia here. Potentially, well, I guess it depends. At range, probably the more dangerous one.
You think? For me,
I
it's
think so.
always
I think the
the
other one's
opposite.
harder in melee with the kind of shotgunning projectiles. But
Yeah, I'm just
looks like they're
making
handling pretty comfortably though.
I'm just making an assumption because Dexter is doing really well. I believe he's either on a witch or on a sorceress, and
Exalted
he is
or
doing
nice.
really well.
And an artificers. Whew.
Damn,
Very nice.
getting big early.
Yeah, so I did want to point out that most of the zones in Act 1 have been quite well mapped by the players. They've figured out a lot of the rules for how the layouts work, which has been rather difficult for them. In Path of Exile 2, there's been a lot of study and research and testing that's gone into that, and with the variations between different League game modes as well. Oof, massive damage from Angormus's slam. They're just one-shotting a rare with the Bone Shatter proc. Very nice.
Very
But
nice.
the Cemetery is one that players can get lost in. So far, we've seen fairly smooth runs through there, that I can tell at the very least. Woody's on the Rotten Druid now as well.
Interesting. Not necessarily a boss that a lot of players opt to go for, but maybe he does need that little bit more. Woody so far
Yeah,
has
it does
been
drop an
going
extra
for a little
gem.
bit more of a optional boss approach. Wonder if
Damage.
that's going to be paying out for him. I do know that he has been practicing quite a significant amount, so he must have a pretty good idea of what he's doing here.
And Gormus going for the ambush side event in the Tomb of the Consort there, which does drop a uncut support gem, so a nice extra support gem for them there, which does allow them to get the increased AoE gem, whatever it's named now in PoE2, on their Bone Shatter along with the Shockwave. So for just the mega AoE, which we'll see for some used to huge effect in the future. I'm liking
Yeah,
the
Gormus must be quite happy, I gotta say, because as you were mentioning in regards to the layouts, as much as many of them have been mapped out and figured out that that graveyard where you find those tomb entrances tends to be pretty tricky. Sometimes you just might miss it by an inch, and it's going to be making all of the difference. So him getting to these bosses early is pretty something that he's extremely happy about in this Act 1 so far run.
I do
Big
think
time
we
miss favor.
see Woody going for all of those extra gems because Mercenary does really need a lot of them. The idea is
Yeah.
really to have quite a few cooldowns to rotate between and to be able to stack so that you have, a consistent clearer, which is most likely just going to be explosive grenade, and then various tools to boost things such as gas grenade with armor stripping, and indeed, like we see in the early game here, the cold snap, which is pretty cool extra tech.
Absolutely. Yeah, the amount of damage that you can put out from that skill is just such a big deal. As in Gormus, I've been praising his layout read so far, but He's looking for the boss for quite a while, no?
This is his second one now. He did defeat the boss earlier. Looks like he's not had too much tarrying around in here.
I
There's
think
more Slaying the Praetor this time around.
it's kind of tricky because, well, guys, heads up, there might be a little bit of community effort going on here because, the first player is streaming and some of the other players that are trying to be competitive because everybody's got the same layout just be watching his stream. But I believe he immediately sees the boss room, but it's just a really long way away for him. Yeah, there you go. He finally
Yeah.
does manage to get there. Just a really long layout. So just because he had to go to the right, he got a little bit lost. That might be time that the other players might be saving themselves just by watching his stream and giving themselves a little bit more room to catch up to Angormus, who is now dealing with Draven. Another tricky boss, I think, for a lot of players, tends to do a lot of damage, especially with that enrage if those ghosts come through. Dodges the slam
Oof,
perfectly.
nice. Yep. That was beautiful dodge rolling there. I really love Engormus's dodge rolls. He does some really good dodge rolls in place as well, like really
Ooh.
minimizing kind of the amount of movement while dodging the skills.
Yeah, like that one
I
just
love to
there
see
as
it.
you were talking
Yeah,
about that.
beautiful.
That dodge roll was beautiful. That was
Yeah,
extremely good.
his piloting of the warrior is supreme. I've really enjoyed watching his VODs and seeing exactly how it goes about that. I actually see Dr. Dexter in the lead here with the kill on Lachlan the Lost that looked very confident there
Wow.
and doing impressively well given that they've been at a 5-minute tea time for quite some time now, at least 20 minutes. So
And he's a cat too.
I know. It's very impressive on many levels.
Very
It's
impressive
still doing
indeed.
so well there. I'm loving
Players.
how close this is. Actually, I expected, the Warrior to have a little bit more of a lead early on here, but we're seeing a much closer race. And actually, with Dr. Dexter in the lead right now, is making things very excited. And I'm super, super keen to see a nice close race here with some unexpected twists for me as well. And almost getting the first stun Lachlan of the Endless Lament, hopefully having a clean kill here. He ideally doesn't want Lachlan to do his stomping attack, so we'll see if he goes into that. He goes into the the channeled spirit, which is pretty much perfect. He should be able to get that kill
Perfect.
cleanly as well there. So it's exactly what he wanted. And that boss went down nice and smoothly. The stomp would have cost him a few seconds. So that was nice to see.
Yeah, a lot of pesky, big damage abilities, but also slows in that fight. So you really want to keep those to a minimum. Try and move around as little as possible, and he does just that. And a very clean kill manages to put him just a little bit closer to Dr. Dexter. But do keep in mind, guys, that there will be different priorities depending on the class. So just because somebody maybe is a little bit further ahead in progression, that doesn't mean that they're not XPing in a more efficient way, that they're not focusing on their early item
Yep.
RNG a little bit more. There will be that fluctuation. So sometimes players are going to be slowing down in terms of their progression. Sometimes they're going to be speeding up. Sometimes they're just going to be straight blasting, running past every single mob, disregarding their XP and anything else just because they want to get to the finish line as soon as possible.
So in the hunting grounds now for Engormus and Dr. Dex, we will see them actually do quite a few things in here. And we both see them doing the Dryad Ritual right now, which does give an extra uncut gem. So they'll actually be doing pretty much everything in this zone, which does seem like it would cost you a fair bit of time. But XP strategy is such a huge deal here. The players really don't want to get underleveled. The penalties there are very severe. You'll get decreasing amounts of XP and have a harder time catching up the more underleveled you get. And the players really want to get to between 28 to 30 for Act 3, where they will stop killing things almost entirely. But that does require them to be able to go at as fast a pace as possible without getting too underleveled. And that means farming in a few locations, particularly in Act 2. But the hunting ground seems to be the chosen place of many to do that here, although Dr. Dexter has proceeded to Ogden Farmlands very quickly, unexpectedly.
Yep.
So I'm curious about that. He does seem to be rushing ahead, and I'm wondering if that's going to cost them in XP or if they have an alternate strategy in mind. So we'll see. But he's heading off to get Una's loot box now, getting those quick extra passives. We'll see players get a lot of the extra passives, as the advantages there are actually pretty significant, especially for survivability a little bit later in Act 3. But we can see Angormus lingering in the zone a lot more, actually killing things, grouping up those large packs for the Bone Shatter procs. And I've even seen players do Fraythorn. We'll see if that changes or if that still happens. But even potentially moving in for the optional boss kill here, the Crowbell, for an extra 2 passives too. So Notice Angormus taking their chest off and keeping it on their mouse cursor to give them a movement speed boost, while being prepared to put it back on right before the boss fight, just to travel that extra distance a little bit faster there. It's like 6% movement speed or something.
Yeah, it's a very good mechanic. It's a much easier thing to do in PoE2 than it is in PoE1,
WASD.
as you do have access to that WASD movement. Although
That's
not
it.
every player is utilizing that, so pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
most. It's apparently quite advantageous in town in particular.
Ooh,
Oh, Naden wins getting stomped there by Lachlan. Unfortunate upset's going to result in 1 minute of waiting here before they can rejoin the Lachlan fight and have to do it again as it will be reset. Crowbell for
yeah, and it
Angormus going down quite nicely. You can get a little bit of extra damage on them at the door before they move on, but otherwise you pretty much have to wait here. There's not really a way around it.
Yeah, a lot of waiting, but those 2 extra skill points and potentially some extra drops is just that worth it. And yeah, Naden, it's a thin line. It's a really thin line between trying to min-max, trying to do as much damage as possible, and then also keeping your survivability in check. Unfortunately, the line was crossed sober for him, and he will have to pay the price of having to wait for 1 minute. A very tricky boss. I mean, honestly, all Act 1 bosses are just extremely tricky in regards to that. You can save yourself a lot of time if you're playing it well, or you can cost yourself a lot of time too if you're playing it poorly.
Some
Terrence
nice looking
staying
damage
in
for
range.
Terrence there. We've seen him get a few decent drops, I think, so it looks like his damage is looking somewhat on point. And he gets down Lachlan with those huge grenade explosions. Just, oof. There's not the same mechanics to take advantage of as the Warrior, but just the raw damage from those grenades is looking very good. So competitive nonetheless. And some bosses don't have the ads to be able to do the shockwave shenanigans on. Now we get to see
Yeah.
Naden's second attempt. Oh, they do just eat the edge of that slam there. Have to watch out for that. Forwards and back one needs that sideways moving out of the way, not just kind of slowly running away from the the crashing spaceship.
Yeah, and you can see how much time it's costing him, just having to dodge, having the boss
Yeah.
move around. Those slows make it tricky to go backwards, right? He has to go through a chill right now, and I gotta say, this he might have been better off. I mean, obviously, when you die once, you don't want to be making the same mistake again. The boss
Certainly
resets,
not.
you're having to redo the whole thing. So he's gonna be
Very
playing it a
nice.
little bit safer, but you can see how big of a difference it might make in the overall time on each and every single one of these bosses, which we have a ton to go through still.
Bonus skill gem drop for Terrence. Any extra bonus skill gems just from killing regular monsters and rares that are outside of the specific events and things that plan for really nice. Usually they're dedicated to upgrading the damage of your skills, which can be a little bit, it's hard to do all of them
Hmm.
whilst getting all the skills that the players plan to have for racing. So usually a bit of RNG on a few of those can be quite helpful for that extra damage. And Terrence getting that nice one there. And part of the reason to, just kill a little bit more as well as keeping up that XP.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely. And you can
Naden
see
getting into
Angormus.
whew, some dangerous encounters here with some of I mean, these little quill beastie creatures, the venomous crabs in here can really cause quite a bit of damage
Yeah,
when
and
you've got a
technically,
nice pack of them crossfiring you.
this is the easier part of the witch run, right? Because eventually you're gonna want that SRS. You're gonna want your level 10 spirit gem, and for that you're gonna have to deal with some rituals. I wonder how early he's gonna go for that, but right now maybe a little bit shaken up, making his play a little bit slower there. As I say that, Terrence picking up the waypoint in the Freyhorn. He will be coming back for that later. He will want the Spirit Gem either for some defenses or some offense in the case of the casters, as you can utilize, I believe, Wind Dancer for some of these classes just to keep yourself a little bit safer.
Angormus has been having some difficulties in the Ogum Farmlands layouts here and has taken several wrong turns and used that. You'll see players, if they get lost or even intentionally at times, use reset at checkpoint to reset the zone and to reposition themselves so that they don't have to have access to a checkpoint to be able to travel between them. They can actually use that to go an alternate route. So you'll see that quite a bit as players explore those zones and try and find that correct exit, which Angormus did eventually get. So I've actually seen Dr. Dexter go back to hunting grounds now. So I was wondering about the fact that they left early before, and now we're seeing the
Mhm.
reason for that was it looked like when they got the exit the Ogden farmlands. Their plan was to proceed into there and probably get the waypoint and then come back.
Yeah.
That way they didn't have to re-find the exit. Which, I mean, the checkpoint system exists, but that does act as an extra layer of insurance there. And it looks like they have a somewhat dynamic plan, which you like to see. So Dr. Dexter, while looking in the lead there, has had to go back now and do some of the things that they missed. So we'll see kind of where that places them all at this point. With, I would say at this point, Angormus a little bit in the lead. Do we see, we're seeing the progression onto Freythorn now for Angormus. So I'll be interested to see how many players do go for Freythorn, because it's definitely a large side area. The boss takes a while to kill and the encounters are dangerous. So there's a lot of XP to be had here. And it is, the reward is a Spirit Gem and Spirit. So that's a significant reward. And there's a lot players can do with that. But interestingly, from a discussion with Angormus, he was using Herald of Ash originally, but decided it wasn't really actually doing anything. And the plan is more to use Wind Dancer later on. But yeah, just effectively not doing anything with that spirit potentially for a while is interesting. So I'll be curious to see if they've modified their strategy since they mentioned that to me.
Yeah, sometimes it's Wind Dancer. Some players, I think some of these mercenaries and especially rangers are going to be using Herald of Ice. And then obviously for Witch, for your Sorceress, you're going to be running SRS for that extra speed, as it might become a primary damage dealing ability for some of these players. Not necessarily the fastest way to approach the game overall, but definitely something that most people are familiar with and just very, very consistent and familiar, most importantly, which familiarity, tends to save you a lot of time in these situations, right? There might be something that you're more comfortable with, and that's going to allow you to do just that much better. As Lackland is being fought once again, this time by Woody Joe, who is already on the Ranger using the Lightning Rod and the Lightning Arrow right now. Putting out a lot
Yeah,
of
the damage
damage,
is
trying
looking,
to min-max.
yeah, the
Yeah,
damage is looking okay with the stacked when Lachlan
difficulty.
cooperates.
Yeah, the difficulty with this is that you really
Ooh, that's
want
nice.
him standing still. You want to be utilizing that overstorms for those
Yeah.
extra explosions on the rod, and whenever the boss is moving, it really results in a tremendous amount of damage lost for the ranger. And just because of that, yeah, really knowing what you're doing and really min-maxing your survivability to the point where you're trying to move as little as possible but still staying alive is just so important. That's really where the practice comes in, which Woody Joe has had a lot of. He's been practicing hard for this event.
And when that stun goes, that ramp there is very juicy. So I already see two of them on Freythorn now with Angormus taking on the King in the Mists. Going for the first phase here, getting the stun down. Should see them into the second phase pretty cleanly at this point. And we're still at the moment on the default attacks or the mace strikes with the bone shatters opportunistically wherever possible. And now incorporating Infernal Cry for the added fire damage, a significant, like 100% added fire damage or something on bosses. Yep. So that's a very nice boost. But soon we'll also see the incorporation of Perfect Strike and the skill shots with that, which will just make bossing on the warrior just oh so juicy. But for now, got a stun ready. Nicely baits out the ranged attack there before going in to take advantage of the stun. And now trying to get that damage down to close that fight out. Yeah, it was really good. I love that movement there. Ooh, the slam, but that's calculated. I'm pretty sure he knows he can take that.
Yeah, he exactly knows how much damage he can take. He knows he's very familiar with his survivability. I'm surprised that he's as respectful in regards to this attack, though. He actually
there might be a bit of variance in there he's worried about, maybe.
Right.
But a pretty clean kill in the end. It picks up a nice two-handed mace there from the ritual store as well. So that's good to see. Immediately grabs that Wind Dancer. So we'll see Ang not really do too much with that until Act 3. That's predominantly there for the movement through the Act 3 dangerous zones, with the knockback playing a large role in their survivability down the line. So King of the Mist kill for Dr. Dexter now. Oh, that damage is looking very nice there. The damage over the time, the added damage of the fire onto the projectiles there from the little I haven't played Witch Rise. What's that skill called?
Which one? The little what?
The little purple one, the little purple skill.
I
Little
believe that's
missile.
Essence Drain. There's Essence
That's the
Drain,
one.
there's Contagion. He's got a lot of minions going on. I've
Yeah.
seen some Frost Bombs being thrown down. I mean, which really doesn't come online until this SRS in regards to its single target. So this already is honestly
Looking pretty
pretty
good.
impressive. Yeah, he is using
Oof.
the archers who are throwing down caustic arrows, and then he's detonating those for 200% more damage from the ability
Love it.
with the flame wall. It is a little bit tricky to land, but it is an insane amount of damage and something that you really want to be utilizing this early on. But it also probably will be getting replaced by SRS very, very soon.
Picks up a bit of extra currency from the shop, but nothing too major for Dr. Dexter. And Gormus now moving through Ogham Village, which a little bit dangerous if you get stunned by one of those exploding pigs while surrounded by enemies, but Aang is able to comfortably roll out of the danger. So not too many worries there. Guy that dies rotating in now on the King in the Mists in the top right.
Yeah,
Playing on another
also another
witch
Fitch
this
on a
time around.
witch. Yeah, he
Yeah,
is a
so
little bit higher
seeing
level. There's a lot more focus, I think, in regards to XP for a guy that dies. Although I gotta say, checking the ladder, never mind. Dexter is actually ahead of him, maybe just because of that little bit of extra progression that he's got right now. But yeah, the witches are
yeah, it's pretty
focusing
close.
very heavily on levels.
Looks like there's going to be some strong competition for Witch between those two, though, so that's good to see. We should also see Angormus moving into the Executioner fight anytime now as well. Looks like he's getting pretty close to that fight, so we'll keep an eye on that one because there's some potential nice plays during the Executioner fight if the ads can be positioned well. We do see a checkpoint reset there to go an alternate route, as that route does not pay off all the way back to the start to cross back this way to speed things up instead of the massive backtracking.
I think
Gets
this is
another
also
weapon
the
upgrade.
zone where you get the salvage table.
Yes, and they do have to get Renly's tools so that they can
Yeah.
get the salvage bench. The attack characters, maybe the non-attack characters, the witches and sorks, don't have to do that. I'm not sure, but the warriors definitely do. The other attack characters definitely do because they absolutely want to be able to put 2 rune slots on their weapon. The damage gain from that is just so huge that they will be very actively getting that bench and salvaging as many socketed items as possible.
Yeah, I believe you want to be getting that on every
Nice.
character in an Act 3 run just because you want to mitigate the RNG as much as possible, and that's exactly what the
Yeah, it's
table allows
one
you
of
to
your
do.
yeah, it's one of your only crafting tools. Like to kind of customize the items you get beyond just making them better. So that one can be
Ooh.
helpful for resistances and such as well. Nice dodge there from Dr. Dexter. So Dr. Dexter first into Executioner after Angormus's time loss in trying to find the blacksmith tools, but they should be able to checkpoint to their Executioner fight very fast. That's some nice looking minion damage there. Very good. And we
Yep.
see Angormus in their fight as well. Moving to the second phase, the ads get summoned down. We will see if they can get some nice positioning for a big bone shatter here. Delays the stun just in time to build the ads up on Executioner, but not great positioning from the Executioner, and the ads kind of trickling in slowly is not resulting in that big satisfying boom of damage. But you can see the extra damage from those ad triggers of the Shockwave Bone Shatter stacks there. Contributing to a nice fast kill for the Execution nonetheless, but not quite that. I've seen near one shots from 50% health, so
Yeah.
but didn't quite
Not
cooperate
quite.
that time around. Yeah, the
Yeah, not
positioning of
quite
the
what Ang
Executioner
was
around the
looking for. Not quite what Ang
but
was looking for, but still pretty good.
yeah. We'll see Angormus now move into the ramparts, preparing as much as possible for the upcoming Manor and the end of Act 1. The Manor zone itself is, the Ogre Manor is quite dangerous. So it's a good thing to be prepared for. And we're seeing some zone resets there for Angormus as well. So that one was, I think, I don't know what that specific reset's for actually. Was it just a going in the wrong direction? I think realizing that was the incorrect route, which I've taken many times as well.
I gotta say, I'm very impressed over here. We switched over in the bottom left to Jungroan, who was questioning whether or not he should even be participating in this race. He's done maybe like 20 minutes of practice. Obviously, a very prominent Path of Exile 2-player.
It's
He's
natural
leveled many
skills, mate.
character.
Look at
But
this.
yeah, he was questioning himself a lot here, thinking that he's not going to be able to perform. His practice run wasn't that hot, but he's really keeping up and utilizing all of these different abilities in a very, very effective way, especially for this zone. These next 2 zones all the way to the Act 1 boss are pretty tricky for casters, just because the Essence Drain and the Contagion that you're using leaves you very vulnerable, and these mobs just do so much damage. You're not able to stun them. You have to really perfectly position your Frost Bomb to stay alive, if you even have it available in the first place. But he's staying alive, and he's doing extremely well, as he is now approaching the manor after he picks up this active skill over here. Oh, excuse me, as support gem over here.
I was, slightly concerned that we might just have only one or two players as real standouts, just leading by too much to, affect the excitement levels of the race. But I'm happy to be proven wrong today by the fact that we've had many people very close together here, with 3 people in the Mana Ramparts right now. This is looking like it's shaping up to be a very close and exciting race. So you love to see it, as Jungroan, Angormus, and Dr. Dex are all moving through the Mana Ramparts with Alex Pueblo not too far behind, just picking up the smithing tools now, and several other players kind of around that same area too, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very different. As somebody who has done a little bit of Path of Exile 1 racing and a little bit of PoE 2 racing as well, it is a very different environment. When you're practicing your personal best, when you're racing against yourself, you're always able to reset. You're comfortable. You're not under any pressure. You can always do another run. You can always do another reset. In a race environment, it is very different. You're feeling the pressure. You're playing differently. You're not necessarily taking the risks that you're generally used to. If you are taking those risks, most of the time they're not paying off. So experience for somebody as Jungroan or Terrence or Dexter, very prominent PoE1 racers, I think is really playing in their favor, and it's making up for a big difference in time for them.
Jung picks up the unique helmet that was recently buffed. The what's it called? It's like the ramshackle helmet that's like a bunch of different parts cobbled together. Arian's Cobble is the name. That one has hilariously bad stats quite often due to the roll ranges that it has. It actually looked like it rolled pretty well though, and with those recent buffs actually proving to be a somewhat decent unique item drop. So mostly it's just a bit of resistances and life and attributes and things like that for Jung, but not a bad little helmet to throw on. Probably will keep them pretty comfy and cozy for a little while there. But something I want to point out about this zone here that they're moving through now, Ogre Manor, the plan for many of the players will be to get the checkpoint for Candlemas and then skip it for now, go to the boss, and then after they kill the boss, during that lengthy lore sequence where Count Ogrim is getting interrogated while waiting for the loot, instead of just standing around, they will then go kill the Candlemas boss to get their bonus life and come back and get the loot. Timing that out nicely to not just waste that time standing around for a full minute. So we'll see that kind of interesting strategy play out here for most of the players, I presume, as long as everyone's kind of picked up on that little bit of tech there.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody knows about that. A pretty normal strategy. I think that everybody includes in their.
I didn't know about it until I saw it recently.
No, obviously I'm joking, Ziggy. Come on, nobody knows about this stuff. These players really are locked in. They're min-maxing. They know about these things. They've done their research. With maybe the exception of Jungro. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. And he is struggling a little bit. Like I mentioned, the essence drain. It is just so difficult to stay alive in the manner, just because you do have that delayed damage. Not necessarily something that warriors struggle with. Most of the time, the ability to either stun or one-shot the enemies.
Jung got a rare staff, but didn't have any way to identify it. So they had to go back to town to get it identified there. So
that makes it a little bit tricky too, because most people, spoiler alert, it's Sin. Most people in the regular playthrough go through the animation of Sin getting up and doing all those things, but these players, they're trying to skip that animation. So if you're having to now identify items, you're having to go through that animation, or you're having to buy wisdom scrolls, which most of the time isn't going to be really something time efficient.
So for my favorite fight in the game, Rise. Count
mine
Ogrim.
Mine too.
It's so good. My favorite boss fight of all time.
It's the best boss fight.
I think. It is, right? It's incredible. The pacing, the music, the variety of the skills. Oh, so good.
Yes, what did you just do to him?
Was perfect. Oh, I'm so excited. That was a perfectly landed perfect strike right there. Oh my god, the second perfect strike. We are seeing the warrior come into their full power now as the perfect strikes begin to occur. And I just want to say that Aang and other warriors have learned exactly where to time those perfect strikes based on specific counts and what they say in the dialogue. So I'll try and point some of those out here. But for this second phase, he has to wait for him to transition. Count Gino is a bit, he's a bit stubborn. He likes to do several attacks before he begins. He counts 1, 2, 3, 4, channels perfect strike, and then bam! Look at that, beautiful, absolutely perfect strike there. I'm going to say that again a few times, I'm sure. But almost 50% health in one singular blow. You love to see it. Oh, and a beautiful second hit there. Re-empowering the Infernal Cry for the bonus damage for the third one. Back-to-back, triple perfect strikes. Immediately leaves. Doesn't care for the lore. Goes straight to Candlemass. That's some perfect strikes right there.
What's this, Ziggy? I thought Warrior just auto-attacks and does no damage. What's happening right now?
Warrior was the worst class. What?
What?
Huh?
What's going on over here? Did he just happen to five-shot the boss? He must have been really lucky with his weapon.
It turns out we were just all bad. That was the problem. Mad because bad.
Skill issue.
All we had to do was get good, like Aang and the other warrior players that we're seeing today.
Skill issue, but isn't it always?
That's often the case, man. I'm interested to see how Dr. Dexter's kill here on Kanjino goes on the Witch, because I have seen very little Witch racing, but so far I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. It's
a lot of single target,
style, right?
but it's a lot of single target, but it is very tricky. You're very dependent on your minions positioning. You're having to swap the scepter. You can use the shield to retain a little bit more survivability.
Yeah, he's just I can't attack right now. He's doing his thing where he does several attacks before he phases. I might as well swap the shield on and just run around for a minute. I like that.
And the thing is too that in regards to this boss, the minions tend to break a lot of the animations, especially in phase 1. One of those big attacks being where he charges and then slashes behind him. That's an ability that can one-shot you at this stage of the game for sure, with the amount of survivability that these players have. And sometimes the boss gets stuck on the minions and just straight up slashes you in the face and you just die. So that might be part of the strategy as to why Dr. Dexter had to be so dependent on that shield, because he's seeking to avoid that as much as possible by either despawning his minions or increasing his survivability. Unfortunately, having to deal with the ad phase.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going decently well, but not well enough to avoid the ad phase. You can avoid these poetry phases, as I call them, where Gino does his slam poetry while charging at you from the mists. But it's a lengthy phase that you do want to avoid if you can, but it does require that giga damage and that burst, which the perfect strikes on the warriors may be able to achieve. Maybe grenades might be able to do it with enough gear.
Yeah.
But this is more of a sustained damage kind of setup from the looks of things at the moment, at least.
If you land your stunts perfectly with the flash grenade, you're able to do it for sure. Obviously, as we've seen, you can do it on a warrior. You can do it on a ranger as well if you have enough of a damage output, but that's, I don't think, ever going to be possible on a caster, just because it is so tricky with your minions consistently despawning. You can see that right there. He shouldn't be able to perform that attack, but it just came out because of the minions. And you really want to be safe no matter what, right?
Yeah, that's all right. I hadn't seen that one before. We got Young now is on the Sorceress on Count Gino fight second phase. So we're seeing some cold snaps, some of the icicle shards, which is quite good damage, but we had a very early poetry phase here. Yeah, just right into it. It's actually pretty unlucky. It was probably going to get one anyway, but really early there is a little strange.
He's probably going to get 2 now. I mean, Jungron also staying in one spot. It's a little bit tricky. Yeah, it's easy to dodge the boss, but those doggies, they explode whenever they die. So that can do a lot of damage to you. It can freeze too. I believe it's cold damage. So if you just stand on top of them and you're taking damage, sometimes you can just get unlucky, get frozen, and die. So tricky from Jungron, but stays alive. Maybe a little bit of frustration coming out from that early phase here. He might be getting a second ad phase, delivering a lot of damage with that frost bomb, making sure that he's min-maxing the uptime on his contagion and his essence drain.
He's doing a really good job with his skill rotations there and maximizing that freeze build-up. I do love freeze in this game. That freeze build-up system is just gorgeous. I hope it doesn't get nerfed too much. We'll see. It's very nice. But that's a interesting freeze there right during the channel phase. Which I wasn't actually sure what would happen in there if the Gino does keep doing it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it would interrupt them, but they actually do finish it off slightly after. It's interesting that they're not freezing
Oh,
immune
no.
during that. No, another ad phase. Oh, they were so close to the freeze too. Another freeze would have secured the fight without the second ad phase. Yeah, I think they're at 90. I think they're at 90, and you can continue building when they're immune. So you can go up to 99%. The problem is he drops all the stacks here. Actually, you can maintain them if you hit him while he's charging, but not really getting a chance to do that here, it seems. But hopefully we can get a nicely timed Frost Bomb right in the middle for the final bit here. If he places it right in the center with good timing, he can have the boss jump onto the Frost Bombs. And beautiful. Love to see it. Jung knows exactly what they're doing with that. And I've had fun doing that with the grenades on the Grenadier. But it's a nice usage of the Frost Bomb there and finishing off the fight. Very well done. We got Wrathbreaker from Angormus here, which Wrathbreaker can be a little dangerous, but at this point, most players know that if you stand just right at the peak of the cliffs there, the projectiles can't actually hit you from the walls, and the ads have a hard time getting to you, and you can just kind of farm those or reset at checkpoint to skip them if you want. So
that being said, Dexter messes up the pattern on the combo attack coming out from the boss and has to reset. He doesn't want that 1 minute penalty. Opts to go for the reset at checkpoint, has to rerun the zone, and he's gonna have to.
It's still a 1 minute penalty, but you get XP. So
yeah,
that's a good trade off. So Jung's now doing their Candlemass fight while they're waiting for the loot to drop and the lore to drop from the Ogum kill. And looks like a comfortable Candlemass. Candlemass's mechanics pretty comfortable. Just get right in behind them, pretty much the whole fight, and you're good to go. And look at those back-to-back freezes looking very nice as well. So a comfortable Candlemass kill for Jung Rowan to get a little bit of extra life.
Yep, Angormus now in town, trying to min-max that dialogue. No dialogue weaving in PoE2 yet, but it might happen in PoE1. You were able to stay on the move and do the dialogue and do all sorts of things in town while going through those quests, but not in PoE2.
I think WAC lets you kind of move around a bit more during some town sequences, which is why it's preferred by some players. So that does help speed up the towns a little bit. And there is a lot of lore skips in this run, actually, which I'll definitely try and point out when they're coming up. But so we're moving into Act 2 now for most of these players. And Act 2 is a big farming zone. You will see them do quite a lot of side quests, spending a lot of time in zones like Keth, for example, to get extra passives and things like that. Because the players, this is do or die for their transition into Act 3. If they don't get level 28-ish by the end, then they're going to have a very hard time catching up in Act 3, as you pretty swiftly get to level 35 zones, in which you just can't catch up at that point.
Dexter looking shaky. I mean, he's getting hit by abilities. The boss, while he's performing this attack, he's still able to move just a little bit. So if you're pushed up against the corner, it makes it very difficult to dodge. That big slam attack that you just saw, or the last one in the sequence,
so scary.
can one-shot you. Yep.
I saw it play out in slow motion. That was brutal. Yes, the getting zoned and crunched in by the ads there is pretty much the archetypical Wrathbreaker death that we've all experienced, many of us multiple times in a row. I've been there. I'm sure a lot of you have as well. Wrathbreaker is such a challenging boss fight. It's so dangerous. Those ads can really swarm you if you're unprepared. And some builds have the kind of tools to deal with that. But if Dr. Dexter loses their minions and are out of position, don't have a chance to cast their skills, and they get into that bad position in the first place, then it's really hard to kind of come back from that. As opposed to something like being able to use a Bone Shatter to clear the pack, for example, can make things a bit easier.
Yeah, this really showcases the weakness of the Witch, because those SRSs, they don't have AoE, and then you are so dependent on your Essence Drain to deal that area of effect damage, but there's just so many minions all of a sudden, all at once, and you're just not able to do enough damage. You get locked in and end up dying, as Terrence now is going into his Act 1 fight.
Ooh, and the Merc. Very cool. Looking forward to seeing the Mercenary kill on Count Ogum. I've had some very satisfying Count kills there. And I see him putting on a two-handed macing, picking up Perfect Strike.
Oh, interesting.
I love it. Grenades plus Perfect Strike. Why not both? Look at the gem. He's doing all the gem management. I'm so excited. I feel like there's so much to explore and utilize with the weapon swapping and the alternate skill tree system. We are seeing players start to use it for things like Leap Slam Shield Charge on basically every build.
Yep.
But this combo here, very exciting. Are we going to see a lot of Perfect Strike bossing? We don't see the big timing for the first Perfect Strike right at the beginning of the Count Geonor fight. So missing that one maybe while they were managing gems, not quite being able to get it off. And it's not to the same level that the Warrior is able to achieve with their Perfect Strikes, but it's still pretty substantial. And I think with some nice timings on phases, with some grenades plus Perfect Strikes, we could see some pretty nice damage.
Yeah, you don't have as many points into those two-handers quite yet. You do have access to some two-handed nodes at this stage of the game for the Mercenary, but it's never going to be the same amount of damage as a Warrior has. And for that reason, yeah, he is still quite reliant on those grenades. He's going to get hit here. Yep, a big hit. Not a crit, though. Manages to survive.
Yeah.
You have two options. You're either running away from the boss and you're wasting yourself a lot of time, or running in.
And just too early, just too early. Oh, it hurts, it hurts. He's gonna. What I'm seeing here is like he's got the ideas. He just hasn't been able to refine it and practice it just quite enough yet. Like it's all a little bit kind of rushed and out of time. So I think it's not quite the polished level that he wants from it yet. But I think with the right polish, he could get those grenades down and land that perfect strike at the same time. But not quite able to pull it off there. We'll see how he goes after this poetry phase, though. If he can prep some grenades as Geonor leaps into the middle and maybe even a perfect strike at the same time, I'd love to see it. I want to see it pulled off.
Disaster too. I mean, such an early ad phase. It's going to be
got that one early as well. That's too early. Unlucky ones I've seen there. We did see the grenades kind of a little bit mispositioned there, but not much you can do about that one there. Does get a nice perfect strike.
Mm-hmm.
And another one with the stun, allowing for some grenades with the extra perfect strike. I wonder if just going for a second perfect strike was probably the play there, since they were already stunned anyway.
Yeah, the flash grenade has a pretty good output, but a lot of times for Terrence, I'm seeing he's not quite utilizing his explosive grenade. Maybe he's not wanting to risk the boss potentially dodging his ability. But I mean, in those stun scenarios, like right now, you really want to be blasting him as much as possible. The delay comes out, but the boss dies as well. Great job by Terrence. Manages to stay alive as Dr. Dexter is already able to move. And for Angormus, we're approaching a very fancy boss. A lot of players struggling with this boss, not knowing how to dodge their abilities. Guys, I think you're about to learn something new.
You don't have to dodge anything.
It can be quite simple. Yeah.
The answer is you just don't. You just kill it before it does anything. You know, that's
kill the boss.
It's all right. Just kill the boss. I mean, that's often been the answer, hasn't it? In Path of Exile. Why dodge mechanics when no mechanics occur?
Ooh. Guy, ooh.
That
was close.
Moved around there. The movement looking very clean and crisp, and just barely managing to dodge everything there.
And this is really the strategy that you should be going for with the Witch. As much as you've said you want to be staying in the back, trying to dodge those archers on those cliffs, staying a little bit more forward, allowing yourself to your minions reposition and tank the ads is going to give you enough space to be able to not just kill the ads, but also deal with the boss in a timely fashion. And a great job by Guy that dies. Very impressive.
There you go. Do you see
wait.
checkpoint?
Oh, okay. Okay, Terrence is getting his loot. All right. We're good.
he's not redoing the fight. Just going to get
wait a minute. Well, maybe he died to the Candle Boy, but no, done it perfectly.
That would be an unfortunate upset. I don't know. I feel like that would mess with your plan a little bit.
It is a super easy boss to dodge, but it's also super easy to die if you just mismanage your positioning a little bit. That fire barrage ability, you rarely see people get hit by it, but when you get hit by it, it really hurts. It kills you pretty much instantly with a bad pattern on those projectiles. It's very similar to the Chimera boss that we're going to be seeing in Act 3, where the tail might move just right to hit you perfectly and kill you instantly.
not what you want. We see Woody now on the Ranger moving into the Count Geonor fight. We'll be curious to see how that goes for them, what their strategy is looking like. Their skill bar is looking pretty light compared to most players. Just the lightning rods and the lightning arrow. But maybe that's all you need.
The Orb of Storms is the crucial part here, because it allows your lightning rod to go from just hitting the boss 3 times to proccing 6 times, and it's dealing damage on top of it. too. But the crucial part is you have to be inside of the AoE of the Orb's Frames, which he is not right now, to be able to deliver that damage.
Well,
It goes for the dodge.
Yeah, the other problem with this particular skill setup is that it does just as much damage, like DPS to your FPS as well, as we can see. Woody struggles with that a little bit, but that damage once it ramps, though, if Count Gino cooperates, looks pretty good.
I believe that's a broadcaster issue. I think PoE2 is perfectly optimized, and there are no FPS drops whatsoever.
It's just it's just pure skill. I mean, you can't really blame the devs for that.
True.
Too much damage. Woody now doing the dance that we've seen many times over now at this point as players wait for that second phase to come out. Gianor resisting the call of the beast as long as possible. Nicely pre-stacks, but Gianor does go into the teleport slam, which of course removes them from all of the AoE damage so that they don't take any of it. But a stun, the unfortunate thing about Gianor's stun is it does throw them across the room, so you have to kind of like pre-position your AoE for that one a little bit, which is a bit tricky.
Woody, come on, get in there. Woody, you can take some damage. You don't have to dodge every ability. I mean, his Dark Souls abilities are coming in or something. You have to face tank some things with this setup to really maximize your damage. As much as you're talking about the boss moving, you're really...
The damage and the stuns are looking so good.
Yeah, you can see a big difference. Like, he could have killed this boss really quite instantly.
And no ad phase.
He was a little bit more aggressive. Yeah, and lucked out on the ad phase too, I gotta say.
Yeah, a bit of luck, but he was the only other player that didn't get an ad phase besides Angormus that I've seen. So that's a good damage, and just, a little bit of luck sprinkled on top there that he didn't go into an early one, because that can happen to anyone. So nice kill for them there, allowing a bit more of a catch-up from Weedy. Good to see.
Unfortunately, not quite the #1 Ranger, but pretty close by. So far, Angormus is on rank 1. We have Lundberger, who is close by, although I am saying that Angormus is level 17, and Lundberger, who we are not able to showcase, unfortunately, I don't believe, is level 15. Then we've got Whole New Society on a Mercenary, level 15, and Dexter and Guy That Dies on that Witch, very close to each other. I think the Witch is going to be by far the most competitive in-class race here for us. And it's going to be between Guy That Dies and Dr. Dexter, who are moving further and further away from the pack.
But Dexter, unfortunately, having to wait for that 1 minute countdown now. I didn't see the specific death that led to that scenario, but the inquiry here.
He's waiting right now, you're saying. I thought that you were talking about the previous death.
There he goes. He's still, had some upsets here, pulling him a little bit further behind, which is not ideal, but still in the same zone as Guy That Dies. So still pretty, it's actually still a little bit ahead, but allowing a chance for Guy That Dies to catch up as he gets a bit closer to those mines. Now, as we see Angormus move through the Trader's Passage, I'm sure some players are wondering, will players ascend? And as far as I can tell, the answer is going to be mostly a no. There has been some commentary that maybe some classes can benefit from the ascendancy. It's a big question of like the heavy time investment of getting your ascendancy versus the power that you actually gain from those ascendancy points. And for most classes, it's probably not going to be worth the time cost, but there are potentially some exceptions. So I'll be curious to see if the Witches do, but I don't think we'll be seeing the Warriors do any ascendancies.
We might be seeing a little bit Demon Mommy action in this event for sure. Some people have been experimenting.
There is really good.
Yeah, some people have been experimenting, and it is a little bit tricky. Obviously, it's a big time sink, but the amount of damage that you're getting out of it and the mobility as well is pretty worth it for what some of these players would consider an optimal run.
And I'd love to see it as well, because I'd love to see their speed run on Trial of Sekimas, especially because that's not something that can be consistently routed kind of ahead of time, like they've done with some of the zone layouts. It's going to be purely different every single time. And I assume being fixed seed, it's probably the same for every player, but it's not something they can practice ahead of time, except for the general Trial of Sekimas stuff. But that said, the first Trial of Sekimas ascendancy for experienced players is, at this point, fairly easy. And there's a lot they can do to do that very quickly. So I'd love to see, what that is and how they make that a really fast thing to do.
Dexter getting that caustic arrow pop, staying close to the boss. This is generally what you want to be doing. If you can't just kill the boss, you stay very close and you utilize your roll whenever the boss is running at you with that fire ability. But in the case of the minions, he's able to block her out, and she can't do anything really. Very nicely done
It's
by
looking
Dexter.
good.
That was impressive.
Yeah, it's looking good. She is going into. Oh, we'll see if she goes into a phase where she tries to melee with the grenade. But maybe if we can get the kill fast enough, we'll be able to avoid that in the first place. But yeah, not quite as quick in ignoring all mechanics. Having to do some mechanics here. That's
There
looking
we
good.
go.
Yeah, they were trying to go into their melee phase, but unable to do so as they're still damageable. Dexter was able to finish off the boss before they had a chance to, whip out that grenade and come swinging across the
As
room.
we switch over from Jungroom to Alex Pleblord, who is also on a warrior. Some people would consider Alex a top 3 PoE1 racer once upon a time, maybe still. So I'm expecting great
This
things
is
from
his
him. That
chance
perfect
to,
strike,
yeah.
hitting hard. Boss is slowly falling. Not quite as much of a damage output as Aang, I gotta say. Still pretty impressive. The boss is
Yeah,
most
and that's
certainly
stun.
falling, but there might be a weapon difference here,
Ooh,
or
the miss. Oh
oh,
no. Goes into the melee phase now because of the miss on that last perfect
mm,
strike, but very comfortably handles that upset there by repositioning calmly and getting another
yep.
perfect strike to finish them off. So pretty well
Oh,
handled in the end.
interesting.
Oh, guy that does damage is looking very good here, ramped up, but the minions do go down to the flamethrower. Getting
Yeah,
the
but
resummon goes off.
he's using a very smart thing, which is the last breath support, which allows your SRSs to stay alive after being summoned.
Mm.
It's very similar to the PoE1 Legion medium jewel Blessed Rebirth, where you're able to, even though your minions are supposed to die, they have no HP, they just stick around for a little bit longer, and that allows them to do just that little bit more damage, not having to resummon them quite as quickly as he is
Oh
falling.
my lord. That
Oh!
was woo.
This is
That
why
was a
you want to
pretty
stay close to
nerve-wracking
this
moment.
boss. Makes it so much
Yeah.
easier to dodge these
Oh,
abilities, these con attacks. The
just
further you are away, the faster the boss is able to keep up with your
yes.
mobility. And that could have cost him a lot of time there.
Oh, that was very close. So at this point, it's only luck if the players have a little bit of extra fire resistance. Not something you can count for, but there was, yeah, that positioning, but also just that, oops, kind of actually accidentally walked along with the flamethrower, maximizing my time in the flames
Yep.
accidentally for a little bit there, but managed to just barely get away. And Gormus with some nice perfect strikes on the Jarman Ra first little encounter here. There's not going to be too much to this fight for him, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
As
This
he
boss dies
goes
quickly.
ahead and gets him down low enough that he's going to be like, you know what? On second thoughts, I think I'll run away. That doesn't normally happen in the story. That's just happening because he's so intimidated. Normally, you can kill the
And
boss here. Fun little fact, but
I'm wondering
obviously,
if
okay.
there's a way to skip this ad phase, but
Yeah,
I don't think
if
so. I
there
mean, Aang
is,
is.
Angormas has not found
Yeah,
it.
not quite yet. That
Yeah.
does look like something that should be skippable, though. GGG should get on that. Make, make it
I
skippable.
wonder if
Come on.
not stunning or something, like stunning might play a role there,
Right?
where
Yeah.
the stun kind of kept them in the fight for long enough to have the ad timer come up. But
Mm-hmm.
hard to say. But that was a nice fast kill, and he gets to move on to the next zone there. Alex Pleblord moving through Trader's Passage on a warrior as well, so I don't expect we'll see any ascending out of them. But taking down an extra rare and getting rewarded with an uncut skill gem, so going to be a nice improvement to their damage most likely at this point, as most of their skills are settled in. I would like to point out, you've probably been seeing it, but the shield charges with the little roll at the end are
Yeah.
adorable, and that gets rid of the slowdown at the end of the shield charge. You can effectively animation cancel right out of the end of that, maintaining your velocity, maintaining that speed as you
And it
travel,
feels
and you can
so
do a
good.
similar thing with Leap Slam too. Yeah, it
It feels
looks
so
satisfying.
good. It
It looks
looks
so smooth.
satisfying. It feels satisfying. It's really the mobility that PoE2 needs. It feels so good. If anybody feels like maybe compared to PoE1, their PoE2 experience has not been quite mobile enough, I guess. Yeah, really try out the setup. It feels really smooth. You feel like a ninja, just rolling out of that shield charge. So cool.
And it's not just a warrior thing. As you'll see, all of the races are
Yeah.
now using it. Everyone is taking advantage of that weapon swap and specking trees to help speed up, ideally, their
Hmm.
shield charge leap slam shenanigans as well. So we'll see the rangers with weapon swap, shield charge leap slam, and just about everyone else doing that same thing as well, as it is currently the best option for that mobility and just super helpful for everyone.
Yeah, that is 100% going to be the case. I'm trying to keep up with the ladder here. We were showing Sarge before. He is currently still the rank 1 monk, but only level 14. So already you can see the differences between the class being so significant here. Obviously, there's a little bit of skill going on there, as Angormus being a perfect example of somebody who has done his homework and is now fighting Kabbalah. Great stun. This is a boss that many people get very scared of because there's a lot of big damaging abilities, but generally not a whole lot of one-shots. So he's going to be face tanking many of these mechanics and taking the boss down quite quickly for those additional 2 extra skill points.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, some unique boots for Sarge 2 there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing some Bell action as well. We got some
Yep.
Monk coming up here, which we haven't seen yet on stream, so it's good to see. And I'd love to see the Bell usage and being pulled off very well. And I think Monk gets really satisfying around this point too. So they have a little bit of a rough early act 1, but it starts to come into its own a bit more now. So I'll be
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing how they go.
We ended up not quite showing it, but early on, you're going to be using the Glacial Cascade, the Essence Drain, and then the Contagion, which is kind of a
Interesting.
contagion for the damage of the monk. But as soon as you are in the farmlands or even the zone before that I am forgetting the name of, you get the bell after doing the little ritual mini quest, not the Freyhorn quest, but the one before where Crowbill is. And that's pretty much where you start bonking immediately. And speaking of bonk, Terrence with that weapon swap mercenary going for that perfect strike as frequently as possible, gets a couple misses though
Yeah.
on Ruja. Maybe not as comfortable as some of these warriors with this skill use, but he already does have access to the gas grenade and he will be dodging backwards. This is also something that you can dodge
Unfortunate.
forward, by the way, which speeds up the animation just a little bit to save yourself a little bit more time. Doesn't quite go for it, goes for the safe route. I have seen Terrence actually die on hardcore to this boss with that strategy specifically.
A little
So
bit
I think
shook.
maybe,
Oof.
yeah, I think
Double
there's
grenade
maybe
to
a
the end
little
there.
bit of, he's having some flashbacks there and trying to avoid the abilities as much as possible. A bone one drop for Terrence. Is he going to be going for a triple weapon swap setup? I don't think
Multiple
so.
essences for Sarge 2 there, and I
Yeah.
love the bell damage there, pre-dropping the bell on the essence and just obliterating that previous one there. This one taking a little bit longer, but we're seeing some very nice damage coming out of the monkey.
Ooh,
Oh, absolutely rewarded from that boss.
second regal. He's
Oh
got 2
my
regals in his
lord.
bag.
He needs to start using them. He's got 2 regals and 2 exalts. This guy's ready to start making some 6 property rares.
It's so
But with that damage,
tricky.
it looks like he's already pretty well geared. So maybe he's holding onto them for a later weapon. There's level 28 weapons that players will want to get their hands on. So might be holding out for one of those staves a little bit later on, the quarter
It
staves.
is
But
it is incredibly tricky because Monk really can do a tremendous amount of damage, especially in Act 3. I think the monks that we're going to be seeing, although they're going to be getting there late, they're going to be doing a lot of damage, and you are very dependent on your weapon, even more so than a
oh no,
warrior would
nice.
be. So yeah, you really want to be holding on to those regals, but at the same time, obviously, the sooner you get a good weapon, the better your time's going to be. So quite a lot of min-maxing going on there as we are now watching Alex fighting Jamanra in the easier of phases. This is the Act 2 boss. Spoiler, guys, if somebody hasn't done the campaign. And he gets a lot more tricky in
Yeah,
his
so
second iteration.
we'll see some of that soon. But yeah, I don't think he can skip the ad phase. It looks like we do
No,
see
I
another
don't
one
think
from
so.
Alex Pleblord here. I think it's their parting gift right before they leave.
Pretty annoying too. You get pushed around. These ads suck. I don't
He
like this
was
at all.
trying to save the ad. I don't know if he had to do any damage there. I was like wondering if he was trying
No,
to save
no.
them up to damage the boss, but maybe just trying to get that positioning.
Yeah, it's an ad phase that you get to refill your stuff after the boss is already dead.
And then there's no
I don't
fight.
get the purpose of it, you know?
It does
I
seem a
don't get that
slightly
one.
unnecessary ad phase, that one, yes. But
Yeah.
as I was mentioning before, Act 2 is the act for farming. This is where they're going to be
Oh.
seeking to get themselves a lot of experience and get
Ooh.
a ton of levels. So we'll see players doing quite a bit of the zones around Keth, especially, getting a lot of the side quests to get extra passes and things like that. Probably not going to see people collect the Kabbalah clan relic and that and put those things together. The bonuses there are pretty negligible for the amount of effort and time. But certainly killing the snake boss like we saw Angormus and finding the lost letter, get those extra weapon swap passive points. Actually pretty
Interesting
handy.
stuff from Angurmus too. He got a ruby ring, and I believe it was strength and life, which he was amazed to see. He hovered over a bunch of times, and then eventually he ended up using a reel on it, I think. So pretty good stuff. Pretty
The
valuable piece of gear for him.
Good to see Gazzy as well on some summoner action, of course,
Mm-hmm.
through the early stages of Act 2 now as well. So seeing a little bit more summoner action. We've got quite a few witches, a nice witch representation. The
Yeah.
Zarian boss is fully damageable while they're doing their dialogue, and you can actually pretty much almost kill them before they even begin the fights, which I have managed to do on a stacked character before. And Angormus has got them down to 80% before they even get their first attack off on them, obviously, for that quick kill. So all in all, a pretty easy and comfortable boss for Aang right there. They go and do the... They don't wait around for the loot. They go and do the quest and then come back for the loot before leaving. I like that.
Yeah, surprisingly
So
so.
it's
You
little
can do this with a
optimizations.
bunch of bosses, but this is the one that most people are familiar with. Where, yeah, if he is doing that dialogue, you can just smack him, and sometimes you're gonna kill him before you're even able to see his HP bar. As we are now watching Jungle fight Jamanra. A lot of J's going on here. Essence Drain, Contagion, and Frost Bomb still in
Yeah.
use.
Jessent Strain.
There's a
Yeah,
Frost
we're seeing
Bolt
the
too.
Cold Mage action there. Oh, going a little bit low. Health looking a little bit uncomfortable, but manages to hang in there. The Life Flask looking a little bit under upgraded, causing some issues with recovery there. That was some very slow recovery. You definitely should have the next tier of Life Flask by this point. Hunting Grounds in Act 2 gives you the greater Life Flask.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised.
It's a little bit behind on that Life
going
Flask,
for the
which is
setup.
potentially going to cost him.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's going for the setup. It's pretty safe. He's getting a lot of freezes, a lot of chills, but this is quite slow, no? It's not quite the power level that we've been seeing a lot of characters with.
It looked very comfortable and like relatively safe apart from that. If he gets that flask sorted out, it'll be pretty safe. Which
it's
plays
a
a big role in
race. There's no slow and steady. You go fast or you go slow. He's going.
But what about the hair and the tortoise? Surely there's some merit.
No. Okay, well, to be fair, we might be seeing a lot of that in Act 3. There's going to be a lot of hairs and hopefully some tortoises are going to be in there too.
Yes. All jokes aside, survivability does play a big role in Act 3, and that will be something the players will definitely be paying close attention to.
Yeah, it's really crazy over there. As players are pretty much skipping everything.
Is that that's the thing I love about this is these players are like not making you think, oh, they're gonna make it look so easy, but they end up making it look hard because the game gets harder for them because they play so underleveled, in order to close out those races. They're going to be like 10 levels underleveled by the time they finish, roughly.
Yeah, that's really one of the trickiest parts of racing in Path of Exile overall, that you're really always trying to not just min-max your offensive ability, but also your defensive ability. You are using your HP as a means to deal damage, which naturally is going to lead to faster times. And in Act 3, that's going to be especially showcased as, we're going to be seeing a lot of running. But we're not quite there yet. Players are getting close to the end of Act 2. A little bit of RNG in some of these zones. You're having to find those relics that allow you to progress.
We're seeing it rise. I'm excited. Trials of Sekima coming up for Dr. Dexter. So we are seeing a witch go for the Ascendancy. And they're certainly going to be mate, I have studied Sekimas. I am so ready for this. They're certainly going to be seeing players go for the ritual rooms, as they are often the fastest the room. You can get the single ritual rooms where you only have to kill basically 2 enemies and then the room is instantly done. This one here also quite fast. The gauntlet rooms certainly are a big time cost and to be avoided. And I actually think that pretty much all of the strategy for this this first floor run here for them is going to be about which rooms they choose, more so than any like boons or afflictions or anything like that. It's probably just going to be about taking those really fast rooms and getting through on pure skill. We've got a boss fight for Angormus here, and having a little bit of difficulty with the positioning there.
A lot of teleporting going around for this mammoth thing. And there's a big HP difference between these bosses. Generally, you want to be killing him at the same time as the other one enrages, but Angormus, to be honest, manages to perfectly
I
Get
know,
the
it's
other
like
balls just
calculated.
quite low enough. And yeah, it's almost like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's
Gets
like
the
one
other boss
perfect
quite
strike.
low enough, and he's now wailing on the
I guess
mammoth,
like it.
hoping to kill
Yeah.
both of them at the same time. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's certainly like, you could have gotten rid of one for a little while there, but then they just get way, way tougher. So
Yeah.
well played there to make that fight safe and manages to synchronize those kills quite nicely. Right now, we see Dr. Dexter on the escape trial, which is also quite fast. Probably, depending on your movement speed, the second fastest. The second fastest can also be the time trial. If you can kill those rares nice and quickly, you can get it down sub 40 seconds potentially. So probably we're going to be seeing mostly ritual and escape trials if we're lucky, and they do indeed go into another escape trial there as they begin running through. And Terrence moving into their Jamin Ra initial encounter here as well.
Yeah, stacking up those gas clouds. He's trying to go for a big pop. Obviously, he's got a lot of min-maxing going on with the in terms of the perfect strike. Whenever the boss is doing that animation, you can still attack it, but the more gas clouds, the better. But quite frankly, he's not really going for that many. Yeah, he throws in a couple here and there, but this is primarily the perfect strike going on right now for Terrence. I mean, the higher level you get on a mercenary, the more access you have to those two-handed nodes, so it will lead to better scaling. But I was kind of hoping that some of the more mercenary-like abilities are going to be prevailing in single target scenarios. Not here. I mean, he gets a big stack there, a big gas cloud pop, loses a lot of
Yeah.
HP, but significant amounts of recovery compared to John Grown. He
Yes.
clicks his flask and pretty much gets it back immediately.
The proper flask does a lot
Yeah.
for you right there. Yeah, like I was saying, I think this is like a really clever strategy and could be executed just a bit more cleanly, and I think we'd really see it pop off. I think the potential is absolutely there. It's just not quite able to like sync up those grenade uses and perfect strikes just perfectly yet. But I'm excited to see him in future weeks, because if he continues developing the strategy, we could see like some really big damage and clean plays with that concept in future weeks. So we're going to see like dramatic improvement over the next 2 weeks, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep track a little bit of how long it's taking Dexter to get through these trials.
Yeah,
He is closing
another escape.
into the end, but I don't know, is this going to be paying off for him? I better see a lot of power coming out from Dexter
Yeah,
soon.
I think it's really going to pay off in Act 3 especially. But yeah, going for 3 escape trials in a row, it looked like there, which is nice.
Yep.
Does just check Barbala, but nothing major there. And he's got Hourglass versus Gauntlet, so he's going to go for the
Ooh.
Hourglass most likely. Oh, wait, no, he's got the initial choice first of Ritual, or what was the other one? Another Ritual. So at this point, choosing which affliction is going to be not so bad for him. It looks like he's got a little bit of a rough choice there. But
Yeah.
the ritual rooms are nice and fast at least. So he's not too unhappy with the specific room types that he had access to. Looks like he was able to get back-to-back ritual and escape rooms, which is about as fast as you could get here, I think, with the shield charge.
Mm-hmm.
So he's making it quick, but it's going to be, I don't know how many minutes have we been in this one? More than 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we're not quite able to showcase it, but we have a player entering the Titan Grotto. And I don't believe, unless Angurmus is running a stream delay on his setup, I don't believe that's Angurmus. So we have a player that we are not showcasing and probably aren't going to be able to showcase in the lead. So pretty cool stuff here. I think that's a lot of inspiration for a lot of people watching and maybe players who are thinking about getting into this. I got to tell you guys that getting into these races early and getting that truly like racing experience is going to be so good for you compared to just practicing speedruns. So if you're thinking about it right now, you can still participate in the race. You might not win, you might be starting a little bit late, but it's still worth to give it a try just to give yourself an idea for the upcoming 2 races, how things feel, because we are having another one next week and another grand finale race the week after.
That's it. It's a lot of fun to participate in, even if you have no shot of winning. Like I enjoy playing like a little bit of soccer or something, but I know I'm never going to be playing in the A leagues with that one. But I can still have my fun with it too. Try and emulate the heroes, learn a little thing here or there. But that's the one. And you can always retire to a life of casting, just like us.
Oh,
amazing!
My God.
That is
what
I hesitate to say stronger than the perfect strikes.
I mean, I
damage.
was telling you, there's a lot of dependency on the weapon. There's a lot of variance in these staffs, but when a monk starts pumping, he's pumping.
Also, I'd like to point
Jamanra.
out the double bell too. The double bell is very cool.
If I was Jamanra right now, I wouldn't even want to come back to the next iteration of this fight.
There
Screw
is no
this.
second fight. You know what? You just go. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna retire. Jamanra also gonna retire to a life of casting now. Oh, we see the Rattle Cage fight for Dr. Dexter now as well. Going down pretty quickly here.
And
Rattle Cage.
his honor bar full.
Yeah, full.
Not a
You love to
single
see it.
amount of honor lost.
No,
This man is
no damage
full
taken.
honor.
Not a single hit taken, which is probably better than you need to play here.
Yeah, it's kind of bad, to be honest. We're praising it, but it's kind of bad.
Reckless. You love to see it from a Sekima's running point of view, but I feel like a bit more recklessness could be warranted here, given that you're pretty unlikely to die to regular damage here in this Child of Sekima's run.
Mm-hmm.
So taking a bit of honor damage is not going to cost you too much, but nonetheless, he's having a somewhat clean, if not a little slow, Rattle Cage kill here. Rattle Cage mechanically is very manageable. He does take a few little bits of hits of damage now from the little volcanoes spitting out their orbs. Nothing to be too concerned about. Unless he eats one of those gigantic slams, but
He's
the
reading the
auto bar
tooltip.
pop up. It's just checking on the game mechanics a little bit.
It's like, wait a minute, how does this work?
Yeah, that clickable honor text there has got me before too, I'm not gonna lie. Cleaning up the final slithers of of Rattle Cage's health there, as Angomas moves into the Colossus, and Angomas is telling he has a place to stand in the Colossus fight, which I've heard about before, where you can avoid basically all damage from the fight. You can just stand in one place and not take any hits. So we'll see if that pays off for Angomas here as well. Whether he can indeed just stand in place. Yeah, it looks like that's the spot. As you can see, Zalmarath is just trying to do things and it's not hitting him. So I'm sure at some point the devs are going to be like,
I like this.
Supposed to be able to do that.
I feel like this is an improvement to this fight. This fight cost way too many hardcore players way too many lives in the first few weeks of PoE 2.
Yeah, but Mark's going to see this and he's going to be like, you know what? He needs more abilities, I think.
I rarely find myself disagreeing with Mark, but this might be one of those examples.
Mark likes his spicy boss battles. So we'll see. We'll see if that changes in the future. But for now, Angomas is taking full advantage of just some clever use of positioning mechanics.
And Dexter finishes his Trial of Sekimas. We didn't quite manage to catch what he was doing in terms of his ascendancy, but I think no matter what, it's going to be improving his character.
Yeah.
As we switch in, Woody Joe in the bottom right are close to rank 1 Ranger. He's getting through the Lost City right now. A little bit behind the other classes, but still doing quite well. Still utilizing the same abilities. I don't think we're going to be seeing a whole lot of variance there. Just trying to min-max his damage output and keeping the enemy still as he gets surrounded. Man, week 1, those beetles would have killed you. That's way too many beetles. He would have been dead there.
I think Woody's come a long way too. Like, he's been practicing a lot. Ooh, we're seeing
the demon mommy. She's out.
And this is where we get to see if it does indeed pay off that time cost, because that was a lot of minutes lost there. But that's very fast movement, isn't it?
I like this. I gotta say, I mean, that dodge, it turns from a dodge into an actual proper movement ability. It's obviously spammable. You don't have any animation canceling going on or anything, and it goes pretty much across the entire screen. Fantastic production.
Unfull screen.
Production, come on. This is messed up.
That's we don't need to focus on that. Poor Rudy does have a little bit of an upset there in the Lost City and decides to take the very opportune moment. Honestly, at some point I feel like you almost want an intentional death somewhere so you can go have a pee break, because the 2.5 to 3 hours is a long time.
I mean, production, that was messed up. I gotta say, the man leaves the stream to not show that he's crying, and you guys full screen him. That's too far. And apparently, we're also getting notes from production behind the scenes that apparently Jamanra is cold weakness, and that is why Jungrum was using a cold skill for that fight, but it wasn't particularly impressive. Still, I gotta say.
It
But I mean, a cool approach, a knowledge-based approach.
looks like Woody is actually playing a merc.
Is
They were
he?
using a bow though, yeah, right. So we've got an unusual merc
Oh,
style
interesting.
from Woody, it seems.
Oh, I
Which
didn't
we're
even
seeing
know.
some potential from it from the lightning rods, but that does mean they're competing against other mercenaries on the ladder. So that includes the like the perfect strike grenade combos. So we'll be able to see. I love to see when there's like multiple different strategies and builds competing on the same class, because usually we do see races kind of diverge on, converge on one strategy over time. It'll be interesting to see what that is.
That's very surprising to me, especially since Mercenary is a fairly competitive class. I mean, you have a lot of players
Yeah,
who have been practicing a lot. We're not seeing him here, but Raylan is one of those players. Obviously, we've got Terrence, and there's another player who's even higher than those, currently rank 4 on the ladder on a Mercenary. Again, this is going to be Driz that we are not quite seeing on the stream. This is Dr. Dexter, but yeah, Mercenary, really competitive. Wait, there's another on Whole New Society that I talked about earlier, is rank 2 on the ladder on a Mercenary. Super impressive stuff.
ooh,
And that's a
very
class that
exciting.
many people thought that isn't really that good. People have always made fun of grenades versus arrows, guys, I
They
don't
don't
know,
man.
grenades
They
seem
don't
pretty
know.
good.
Grenades are great. I love the grenade leveling. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does take a lot of grenades, but it can be pretty mana hungry, but it can be pretty chunky. And with some of these clever combinations we're seeing with like obviously the leap slam, shield charge, but maybe even things like perfect strike and stuff like that. There's some interesting potential there for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be surprised to see some some more mercenary action in the future. And I wonder if we see like something similar to Perfect Strike down the line with skill balance changes and stuff as well, with
Yeah.
the knife shot or whatever it is from Mercenary.
Did you pay attention to that fight for Dr. Dexter? How you feeling about that single target? It was pretty good, right?
Oh, I did
Better.
know I did miss that. It looked good?
It looked good. It looked quite decent. Really well managed on the mommy form. It performed quite well. I don't know if it's going to be enough time to save him. I mean, we've got another person who has ascended, guy that dies, another PoE1 racing OG, as mentioned previously,
Yeah.
I do believe. And yeah, they're really utilizing that dodge to get across multiple screens in a very quick fashion. Really impressive stuff
Yeah,
there.
the demon form is looking immense, and we are seeing the witches go for that strategy, which I love that we're seeing like some people send, some people not. It's very curious to see, whether it really pays off for them. Presumably in their testing, their runs have been a bit faster with that time cost from Sekimas, but I wonder also how variable
Yeah.
is Sekimas. Sometimes you might have a bad one, sometimes you might have a better one.
Terrence, considering a lot of items, town is lava. You don't want to be hanging out in your
His
hideout.
feet are burning. I can hear them
Terrence,
sizzling right now. He
the
is absolutely
pressure.
stacked with currency to spend. I see 6 exalts, an alchemy orb, which is a little wild, several
He is
essences.
rich. 2
He is
regals.
rich, but you want to be rich in items that you're wearing, not rich in currency in your inventory too much, unless you have a specific goal down the line, which there are going to
Interesting.
be some
Yeah.
weapon upgrades down the line. And yeah, and saving that alch or maybe a couple exalts for a bombard crossbow later could be a big deal. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I do wonder if he's not underutilizing some of that currency he has available to him. Those regals just sitting there,
I think
but
this
not
is
making his character
really.
faster in his inventory.
Yeah, this is the tricky part of mercenary. I mean, you also have to keep in mind that technically he has to have 2 sets of weapons, right?
Yeah,
Not
that is.
only does he have to get his crossbows going, which crossbows are kind of tricky. You get a good crossbow at 10 and you get a good crossbow at 16 again, but do you really want to be upgrading from 10 to 16? Then you get another one, I believe, at 21 or 22? That's like a
Giga
bigger
damage.
jump, but then at 28 you get an extra
Immense.
projectile one. Holy shit. What am I watching
I
right
was
now?
waiting for it. I was
I'm
waiting
like,
for it.
Sarge, can you let
No,
me finish a thought? What is going on? This guy's damage
sorry,
output is
sorry,
ridiculous.
Rise. No, you don't get a chance to finish a sentence during that
I,
fight.
I thought
You
I had
know
a
what?
minute
I thought
there.
the perfect strikes were the highest single target boss damage that we're going to see, but it looks like the monk bell has it beat a little bit.
I warned you. I warned you. And it gets really crazy in Act 3. If you manage to get even an
Mm.
average sized weapon, things go really crazy. Those difficult fights like Viper and Aputsi becomes quite trivial
for
Yeah.
the damage output of that bell for the monk. It gets really crazy.
Lots and lots of damage there. I think Perfect Strike might have a slight advantage in some boss fights that have particular phases where you can really
Right.
optimize them with Perfect Strike, whereas the
Yeah.
bell takes a bit more time to charge up that combo and then drop them down and then take advantage of them. So I think we'll see where that comes out ahead. But yeah, in raw damage, the bell seems to have a beat. You know, the bells, multiple bells.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to wonder if GGG considered when they designed it, you know, the multiple bells strategy in the way that you can run the skill system.
I'm sure they have, you know. They've considered everything. The game is perfectly
Bonus.
balanced right now with 0 issues.
Like, it's going to be interesting to see how racing evolves over, you know, over the period of early access. Not only will we get changes and new skills and new classes and all sorts of new stuff, but we're also going to have new acts that are going to change stuff as well.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the new acts are definitely going to change up speedrunning quite a lot. And I think
And
overall, we're seeking to minimize RNG as well. So that's probably going to be some changes that are going to make a big difference in the future. Just like in PoE 1, you know, whenever a caster would get like 1+1 weapon, I think we're going to be seeking to minimize that RNG factor there and make it more skill-based. Although RNG so far hasn't seemed to be playing much of a role. You know, the players that should be ahead are ahead, and the players that are behind, you know, are looking to catch up.
yeah, RNG gets a lot of talk, but ultimately, like, a part of the skill of the racing here is in how you mitigate that as an issue. And part of their
Yes.
farming strategies, which are tackling multiple issues, like making sure that they're getting gems that they want, making sure they're getting the levels that they need, but also making sure that they are very likely to get the gear that they need, even if they're a bit unlucky. And also finding out what their minimum tolerances are. Like, Angormus knows if he has this amount of damage, this is how he can do a certain boss fight, and whether he can skip a phase and stuff like that. So you kind of plan for all of those different scenarios as well to be able to take advantage of them.
100%. And as players are continuing, and Gormus is getting to one of the simplest PoE 2 bosses for whatever reason. It's massive, it's huge, it swings, it burns. Kind of does no damage though at the same time. There is one ability, the Fire Breath, that tends to desync sometimes. And if you don't quite notice that the boss isn't moving for a split second before it. Oh, wow, he really mistimed that. That wasn't even close.
Yeah, that was super early.
Oh, interesting. I
There's
mean,
a little bit of a fumble and Perfect Strike there, but I think he had time to get another one going almost, so probably not too much of an issue. But yeah, this boss can be a little funny though in the way that it pushes you around. Can be a bit awkward at times. I could see it pushing you out of Perfect Strike range or something like that and causing a miss.
This ability will kill you, so be careful about that one. Just about anything else, the giant fisting slam, it kind of does nothing to you. So you don't have to dodge those necessarily. But actually, he's a little stuck. These do tend to do a lot of damage, but they're kind of easy to dodge. But
he was stuck on the arm there. Unable to roll over the arm. I don't even think you can leap slam over it, because technically you can't really leap slam over monsters, even if it looks like it. So I think he was hard stuck on that arm there, but a little bit of tight positioning with the dodge rolls in place, and he manages to get his Torgul kill down with a bonus transmute. Not going to make too much difference at this point, probably. We get to see some bell action on this boss, which is...
oh, no!
Is he going to go straight?
The boss teleported away. He's not able to deal area damage to both of them at the same time. This means that one of them is going to enrage, healing it up. This is tricky. This boss can absolutely one-shot you when it's in range. It's got a lot of damage reduction too.
He's fine.
Oh, wow. Okay, you know what? I think he just blows it up. What is that?
That's the answer. We talked about it before. You know, don't worry about it. Enrage.
What's Terrence doing? Why isn't the boss dead yet? Terrence killed the boss. This guy needs some tips from Sarge. Man, I mean, if Terrence is going for the double weapon setup, I gotta say, can't you really go for the monk? It's virtually the exact same setup, and it seems more effective than the even perfect strike.
So many different combinations to try with like different weapon swap setups and different classes.
Yeah.
Getting them down nice and low with the grenade AoEs though, and using Perfect Strike to finish off. Gets shoved around a little bit by Ekbab, but he manages to get the kill somewhat comfortably there, if just a little bit slower. We now see Angormus moving through the Dreadnought, and I believe that there is a zone here at the end of Dreadnought. So as I've said multiple times, they really want to be getting level 28-ish by the time they move into Act 3, so they don't have to do any leveling in Act 3. So this part is crucial here. It's obviously a very dangerous zone, but there's actually a section at the end where there is some like 2 guaranteed champion packs, the blue monsters, and you can checkpoint reset and farm those. So we might see some farming at the end of the Dreadnought to catch up levels if they, for example, enter at like the level 24-ish range or something. They might want to be doing that.
Woody manning up there for a little bit, deals a ton of damage, but drops HP, so decides to walk away, and now the bosses
Teleporting
are
away,
split up. He's going to have to kill one of them and then kill the other. This might make this quite tricky.
Ekbab comes over, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, the other
Helpful.
boss is already dead.
Appreciate that, big fella.
445 HP. He's staying
He's a nice
alive.
big target for AoE overlaps, at least. So if you want to be killing anyone second, it's probably Ekbab for this setup.
Yep.
So we can keep him in that AoE. Ooh.
That being said, I mean...
Nice projectile and rage. A little sketchy.
Very
he's having to spend a lot of time moving now, and that's not what he wants. He really needs... This build relies absolutely on him being able to maintain fire. I like those new ice projectiles in there.
This is just so difficult. This is what we were talking about. This is a good example of how tricky this fight gets when one of those bosses ends up enraging, and especially on a class such as this one where you have to be sitting in that Orb of Storms. This is just so costly here for Woody Joe. He can't be happy with that, but he can be proud of himself because that's a situation that a lot of players would have died in, and he manages to stay alive. Great job by Woody, even though, yeah, it was just so tricky.
We see Angomas moving through the zone again now, so I think that's probably because of zone resetting, not an upset, but I could be wrong. Yeah?
I just saw Woody Joe's bow. He's looking at a literally just +1 with nothing else bow, and he's genuinely thinking about upgrading it over his bow because his bow is 1 to 20 lightning damage and literally nothing else. That is,
but there's some currency in there, so I wonder if he's just trying to like grit and bare his teeth until he can get the next bow tier. He might be lacking the bases. We do see an unplanned reset at checkpoint there for Sarge too, as he gets stuck. Yeah, he gets stuck in a pack and is going very low. So rather than taking that 1 minute penalty, he goes for that reset, losing a bit of time, but not maybe quite as much.
I love Woody Joe's face expression. Sometimes he just looks, especially when he opens the map, he looks at it in Act 2. And to be fair, I feel like all of us have had this reaction before, where you look at the Act 2 map and you're just like, what is going on here? Where do I need to go? What is this?
And Gormus has got this checkpoint here as well. So I wonder if we'll see some champion pack farming at this point. So I don't know what the zone reset earlier was about, but he's doing his reset to checkpoint now. So you'll get to see some absolutely degenerate farming, and picks up a bonus essence as part of it as well. So can't really complain about that. These checkpoint reset farms is just like the beetle farming jewels and stuff in Keth.
It's pretty nasty,
yeah. Getting some having a hard time. He's got a very good mace, Sangormus, and his damage is overall looking pretty good, but having a bit of difficulty securing the kill on that champ pack just there.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right? Like, if you don't get that one big pop where everything dies all at once, it gets tricky, and he drops pretty low here, manages to stay alive, but
a little concerning.
Just because those mobs are split up. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Struggle.
Just going for the reset rather than trying to mop up the like 1 or 2 guys, because this setup really relies on the strength of the whole pack being there. So those full packs and them leaping away like they just did is not what he wants. He wants them to be standing on top of each other so that he can just get that proc. So interesting fact about like the warrior playstyle here as well is that the warriors need to make sure that they don't actually get too much damage. If they get too good a weapon, they'll keep a worse weapon handy and use that for a while. Because if they have a lot of damage, a high damage mace, and their initial strike stuns the enemy or even outright kills them, then they aren't able to use Bone Shatter, which means no gigantic AoE pack clear. If you if you hit them with the Rolling Slam or a default attack and they get stunned or die, no Bone Shatter, and you do nothing. You become a default attack build. So they actually have to kind of cap their damage at a certain point, which I've seen play out in a few different practice runs. So I don't know if he was having some issues with that there as well, where he was struggling to kill one of those packs.
Demon Form Gaming over at Guy That Dies stream looking pretty good. The damage output is nice. It is a little bit tricky because you need to have good uptime on your Essence Drain and your Contagion, but at the same time, you're trying to min-max your positioning so that your SRSs are attacking the correct target.
This fight looks good.
Ancient Steed dropping low, but the other boss dies first. Now we've got the Enrage that he's having to deal with, but as long as the orbs from that Necromancer corpse don't spawn, he can kill the boss pretty well. He's blocking the projectiles from that orb spawn with his minions. Those were the same projectiles that were bringing Woody Joe down to like 20% HP. So minions coming out strong in PoE 2.
Making full use of that right there. Full use of those minions. I thought that looked like a really comfortable fight. Obviously, a tricky thing with the damage over time and minion setups is you can't really like stop damaging when you want to. So you have to kind of just feel it out a little bit. And he maybe had the first boss die a little earlier than he wanted, but ultimately still got a pretty clean kill there. And I was wondering if we saw Sarge farming beetles in Keth for a second there, but pretty sure they've changed that. Alex Playboard. Oh, he killed the pack, but just dies right at the end there. Unfortunate 1 minute penalty. Sometimes, yeah, it happens a lot. Sometimes you just die. We've had a few here. I don't know if we've had any deaths for Angormus, have we? Not that I recall. I expect we may see 1 or 2 in Act 3. If he can manage to have a deathless, then that'd be very impressive, but a difficult feat to pull off in Act 3.
That would be a friendly reminder. I mean, he did have 8 deaths on his previous practice run.
Yes.
I think was his personal
I think he's
best
had a deathless one too, though, so...
Yeah.
There's the range, you have the floor and the ceiling somewhat.
I would hope so. I would hope he's had some deathless runs, He is going a little bit slower, being a lot more respectful towards the video game, I gotta say, compared to his usual runs. I've watched many of them, and typically he's a lot more gun-ho. And here, he's taking his time. He knows that he's good enough to beat everybody else without having to take any risky fights or do any crazy stuff. He just needs to be consistent, and it's gonna work out for him, I think. It's looking pretty good. Although, I gotta say, again, this is a friendly reminder. This is a class-based race, right? So if you're looking to get a Demi, you only need to win your class. However, there is a overall prize 2 weeks from now in the third race event that we're having. And many people speculated, at least among the top racers, that Warrior is going to be the one to claim it. As I say that, though, I am refreshing the ladder furiously, and there is a level 24, same as Ang, mercenary right now. So impressive stuff there.
I'm very stoked to see that we have Warrior, Mercenary, and Witch all looking to be quite competitive with each other. So a big surprise for me personally, because I did think that Warrior would have a decent lead after seeing like the world record times from Ang, for example. And not really seeing that from some of the others, but people have been practicing in secret. It happens every time. So we get surprises on the day, and I love to see it. Karen's moving through Zalmarath.
That's a strategy that people might be going for. I mean, even in the current Path of Exile 1 racing, that's interesting.
That's an interesting position. I suppose if you're down at his feet, he can't hit you.
He's biting his ankles. That's crazy. He gets fisted though. I don't think Terrence knows about the tech.
I don't think he knows about the spot, as he does seem to be moving around and dodging and doing mechanics and stuff like a sucker.
He's about to get lasered. Okay, nice. He gets behind the dagger.
Nice.
And that
he knows the
does
mechanics.
A ton of damage.
Look, he knows the mechanics.
You think he's done this?
He'll have the advantage when this boss gets buffed, He'll know the mechanics already. Well, the others have just been cheating this whole time, so they'll have to relearn.
Well, he does dodge here expertly. I don't think that after the bug fixes, there's a whole lot of one-shots going on here. That laser is pretty dangerous. If you melee this, that gets kind of tricky too. So Terrence has to find a nice spot to min-max his output while simultaneously dodging those tricky attacks.
The mana issues now, though.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky part about the caustic grenade. It really is just so mana intensive.
Yeah, the grenades are very, very strong, but very mana intensive. Much more mana efficient is those perfect strikes, which he does use to close out the fight. Which having that in your back pocket is pretty handy for when that mana does get low.
It's one of those few leveling setups where like the fights are so long that you just end up using inspiration. Yeah, it doesn't give you any damage, but
Yeah.
because of the mana efficiency, you just simply have to go for it. Might be
Yeah.
part of the reason why that perfect strike is just so effective in this setup. Just a
Yeah,
little
that's the
bit
thing
more
I've
mana
noticed with the
efficient.
warrior runs is they are just so mana efficient between being able to use Mace Strike actually realistically and do some damage with it. And with Perfect Strike just being so mana efficient, you can, as long as you kind of just manage your mana flask for your movement skills, you're pretty comfortable most of the time.
Oh
And
yeah, and I was
almost,
talking about how in current PoE1, even though there are situations where, for instance, a duelist can technically be like a world record holder right now, it is technically better. Most people are going for forms of a caster setup just because it's a lot more consistent, and that's might be what we're seeing here too. There might be setups where the warrior is just incredibly consistent, but maybe some other forms of racing, some other classes, just perform better in those extreme situations where you maybe get a lot of RNG and you're just having a really good run.
that farming really paid off for Angormus. He went from level 24 to 28 in just a matter of minutes and has now progressed. And I loved his movement through that zone. It was really smooth and clean. And you saw that he was just not killing anything now. And that's going to be the flavor of the race now that he's at 28. Like, it's good to get to 30, which kind of might happen over some of the boss kills. But for the most part, he's only going to be killing stuff that's in his way now, including
Wind
the
Dancer
bosses.
is active now.
Yeah. The
I
Wind
saw him
Dancer plays a
buying,
big role in Act 3. Nice perfect strikes. Gets Shaman Ra into the phase and gets behind the shield. It's got to manage the movement on those skills to
Ooh.
stay behind the shield. Oh, going a little bit low.
That was kind of
Angormus,
Angormus. Is this a little bit too much min-maxing? Holy moly, he's getting close there.
Health is a resource. Time to spend.
That's true.
See if he can use that extra damage from maybe a proc off of the ads. Yeah, he's trying to get stun range for them, but I don't know if he's not really able to take advantage of that. It looks like the ads just kind of die. Anyway, Jarman Ra cuts the vehicle in half, and they move into the second and real phase of the fight now, where things get much more interesting. There's a lot of mechanics in this, so we'll see how many of them Angormus can not do. If he can do enough damage to skip a lot of these mechanics, that would be huge for him.
I mean, there are a lot of zoning abilities, and that slam is hurting, but not quite killing him.
There is no mechanics in this fight. What mechanics? Mate, he just eats the tornado, does a slash ladder. Very nice. Yes,
and then the boss kills himself at the end.
Buddy.
I mean, this is just too much.
Does that really count as his kill though? When the NPC comes in and steals the kill off you?
Yeah, I know, right? Chaos. What can you do? Sometimes it'd be
not
like
a lot
that.
of mechanics in that fight. A very clean kill. Now, there's all these lasers and portals and all these various other things that can occur in that fight, but we didn't get to see them. Maybe we'll get to see them on some of the other players' screens in just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was very clean. I was gonna say there's a lot of zoning abilities there. Nope, not for Ang. I think we're gonna be seeing a similar thing from Sarge when he does end up getting there. But right now, we've got players still getting through the Titan. Dr. Dexter just finishing his Titan kill. Terrence trying to go up the pillars to get to the gold. What is his name? Gold Grol, something like that. The big the other Colossus guy.
Golgrim, the Rom Groll sounds good to me.
Yeah, that one, absolutely.
A bit of a ladder update. Angormus is level 28, moving into Act 3 now. I believe the first player to officially move into Act 3 is doing a little bit of town cleanup in Act 2 first. So we'll see in just a moment. There's his cutscene, and he moves into Sandswept Marsh. And Act 3, where we'll see a very different style of race moving forwards, as there's not going to be a lot of killing. There's going to be a lot of moving very fast through very dangerous zones and trying to skip stuff. So I'll try and explain some of that. It's going to happen very rapidly. The risk of deaths here in Act 3 is increasing dramatically for them. That's why we see things like speccing some nice defensive nodes and using the Wind Dancer spirit skill. Even not so much for the evasion as for the actual knockback, because that little time buy from the knockback allows you to dodge roll / leap slam or shield charge out of the way. So we'll see a lot of really good movement tactics and zone skips and lore skips in this one, as Angormus moves through the zone rather rapidly. But there's a lot of potential for upset. There's several zones where there can be a lot of deaths, and there's some tactics to mitigate those things, but it's going to be tricky. I don't think we've seen a death from Angormus yet, but we might see some in this act. He takes the chest armor off. There'll be some zones here that are a bit safer, like this one here, where the chest armor can come off for more movement speed. And there are some zones where the chest armor's going back on because you're going to be taking too much damage.
I wasn't even close, Ziggy. It's Torgul. Looked it up.
Torgul?
Yeah.
You're pretty close, buddy. You shared a few letters at least.
Thanks, Ziggy. Thanks. But yeah, as you said, this Act 3 is going to be getting really interesting for Angormus, and we've got some players who would like to be in his place but aren't quite there yet, as we are still, for the most part, progressing through Act 2. But if you are wanting to look at the leader, it is, unsurprisingly, Angormus who is making his way through. Is he going to be fighting the monkey, Ziggy? What do you think?
I don't think he'll be fighting the monkey, no. I think you're going to stay well away from the monkey. The monkey is good one-shot potential for appropriately leveled and equipped players, let alone characters that are currently 6 levels underleveled for the zone, and maybe not wearing a chest armor. So look, I think we're going to see a monkey skip. But you never know, because sometimes the monkey, you don't go for the monkey, but the monkey comes for you. So
yep. And the layouts are a little bit different now. A lot of the times you're very close to the monkey whenever you're looking to exit the zone, but Angormus does a tremendous job here finding the waypoint immediately. That's going to be something important for him later on.
Yeah,
nice read on the zone.
His objective here is to move into the Infested Barrens nice and quickly, skip over pretty much everything there, not getting any of those side quests at this point, and he's going to be grabbing the checkpoint later to go through the Matlan waterways and then heading straight into Chimera Wetlands.
Yep.
So it's going to be a straight rush through these zones. We're going to be over in the blink of an eye. And we'll get to see if, his preparation is in order. From what I've seen, it's hard for it. We don't have the way to look at their gear live currently, which hopefully we can do that in the future. But for now, from what I've glimpsed, his gearing is looking pretty good. His damage is looking pretty good. He's not level 30, which level 30 does confer an advantage in that you get the next flask tier, which is a pretty big boost to your healing. But at the same time, the extra 2 levels of farming may not be worth that extra safety. So we'll see if he manages to pick that up incidentally.
I was going to say, I wonder if we do have a way to look at his gear, but it redirects me. The ladder redirects me to PoE 1, so unfortunately not. I can't look at his level 65 Juggernaut, 63, excuse me. Wow, he's got a crazy weapon on that one.
We'll get him to export a quick PoB for us, maybe, mid-race.
I mean, he's got the time to do so. He is really far ahead of other people. We are keeping tabs on the ladder. We are not able to track all the other players. Everybody that you are watching right now is doing us and you a tremendous favor by streaming the event in the future. Hopefully, we're going to have tools to be able to watch players in game. Yeah. But as of right now, there are some players playing off stream, and one of those is the rank 2 player on that mercenary Whole New Society.
Yeah, we do see Whole New Society at level 26. Let me just update, make sure that doesn't change. They're probably 28 by now. 27, so they're currently farming, it looks like, to hit that 28 maybe before moving to the next act. So they're not too far behind Angormus, but right now Angormus does have a couple zones and a 1-level lead. So we'll see if they can maintain that in front of the mysterious stranger. But
we do see the name in lights that Angormus is getting, so he is ahead on the progression.
Getting those first
we do
signs.
see the ladder. Yeah, so he is the first person, but by what margin? I'm uncertain. I gotta say, the rank 2 player Whole New Society, he wasn't leveling quite as fast on the mercenary, and I don't know if that's a matter of having to have that set up with the caustic arrow or with the caustic grenade, excuse me, or maybe if he is going for an entirely different strategy where he's not going for that farm, because Angormus got those levels quick. Whole New Society progression, as far as I can tell, has been a lot more consistent.
Being able to nearly one-shot those blue packs and just reset quickly instead of cleaning up the scraps is like very efficient XP there. And he really got those like 4 levels in 4 minutes. It was quite fast. But we're coming up to the Cyclusian fight now for Angormus, and this is a fight that can take a little while if you misplay it. With correct perfect strikes, and if his damage is as good as it does appear to be, then he might be able to do it right, which is to avoid Cyclusian actually flying up onto the pillars. If you can kill him before he gets on the pillar, then that's ideal. Otherwise, you have to wait while he's undamageable, bring the pillar down, which is great when you're a normal player. You're like, yeah, I'll use the mechanics to make this fight easier. But that's not what Angormus wants. Angormus wants to skip all mechanics through sheer power. So taking a little bit longer to find the Zyclusian fight there, accidentally goes up into the temple
Yeah.
area instead, which you can kind of see from a bit of a distance, but didn't
I
quite
mean,
realize.
there's a waypoint that you want for sure.
That's true, an extra checkpoint. I don't believe he's planning on doing Trial of Chaos, though, especially on a warrior.
Oh, wait,
Even as
true,
good as he is.
I forget that it's behind the Chimera and not there. That's right. I feel like I
Yes.
always go there. My bad, my bad.
Yeah, he's gonna go kill Zyclusian and then go into the temple behind them. So he gets into that side encounter there and just resets to the checkpoint rather than backtracking. A
Mhm.
nice little efficiency checkpoint usage. And Gobbus is really good with their checkpoint usage, and we'll see a few clever ones moving forwards as well in the Ducani's area, especially. So Terrence, what's going on Terrence's screen? Did he have it looks like a log out there as he got very close to dying, and it
Some
looked like
kind
a
of
pretty
hiccup.
bad situation. Here we go to Angormus's Zyclusian kill. Eats. Oh no! That is exactly what he did not
Wait,
want.
he died and checkpoint? He has died.
He has been slain. That is quite the upset. I believe Angormus's first death, and it was a brutal one. The frost breath from Zyclusian is no joke. Immense damage. The chill that slows you and keeps you there. He ate way too much of that breath. It looked like fumbled a little bit and then kind of wasn't able to get out of there, nor able to checkpoint in time as well. Brutal. The double upset there.
See, but that's the sort of thing that to every other player might look a little bit silly. How can a good player like this die to an ability like that? Even before, when we were talking about the Chimera's abilities, that wasn't the one that I was anticipating is going to take him down. But this is exactly it. These are the risks that, in a way, you have to take. He thought it was controlled, but it wasn't quite so. As we watched Terrence,
He's
I
got
don't know if that was a
cold resist.
that didn't look like a controlled risk at all. I don't know,
Yeah.
Terrence, what's happening over here? Maybe not quite enough damage output from those grenades. The delay is really getting to him. Another logout for Terrence.
Yeah, I think Angormus has been running on a bit of a high. He's had a really good run so far, and that might shake him a little bit, so we'll see how he recovers from that one. But yeah, that 2% cold resist, making that frost breath, and Zyclusian goes into it again, which does force him to back off and means no stun, and that does mean Zyclusian goes up onto the pillar. So a very suboptimal fight here as well, but not as bad as dying again. We'll see if he can finish off the fight cleanly here. It's the
And
one
he
strike
doesn't
to
quite
bring him
one-shot
down.
the pillar either. Okay, no, he does. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
the
once
boss ends up
you
falling
get
down.
it to like 90%, and then it just falls down after a little while. So if the health
Okay,
doesn't really
yeah.
like go below that, it's fine. Yeah, but he
I thought
does
you
get the
have to
clean kill
actually
once he's
deplete
down,
it.
and he gets a birthright buckle belt, which is a pretty good little belt if I recall correctly. It's kind of got some good flask stuff. I don't know if it's worth using over whatever he has at this point. So he's currently evaluating that for himself, and yeah, ultimately decides that the extra flask, I think it's got some recovery to improve that survivability through this act, which is kind of what you want. So nice little pickup there.
I was gonna say I like what I'm seeing from FaZe, but then he gets smacked a little bit.
I mean, I was
gonna say too hard, but
but
too hard, but not really. I mean, he survives. As
Yeah.
long as he's dead, it doesn't matter how much HP you've got.
doing a decent amount of damage, but having to engage in some of the Azarian fight, which is, it's somewhat skippable potentially. Usually you don't have to see too many of them, the fight there, but too many of those attacks. But it does get them down
too, right?
after a near miss.
He's obviously trying to get as many stacks as possible in his demon form to increase the amount of damage that he's putting out, but at the same time, that potentially puts his character at risk. You can see his HP automatically depleting. Maybe he runs out of pots. It definitely makes for a pretty exciting gameplay, but yeah, sometimes it looks a little bit more lacking compared to those perfect strike setups as well, because you just don't quite have enough stacks. Oh my, Terrence died and he checkpoints again.
No, we've had a few rough encounters for Terrence that's really slowing him down in this area. He's had a few deaths just recently, back to back.
Yeah, these spires are very
A few
tricky.
minutes at this point, yeah.
Typically, players
at this point.
Yeah, typically you struggle in this zone if you do the optional quest for the additional lightning damage where the statues end up coming down and they do a lot of physical and lightning damage. And that's really where you begin to struggle. I'm not sure if that's what Terrence is dying to, but this should be an all right zone for him. Probably a pretty frustrating experience, really, right now.
So Angormus's clear through Jakani's now is a little interesting. He swings wide to get one soul core, inserts it, and then resets a checkpoint, which resets the soul cores. So you can actually grab another one without having to kind of like go so far out of your way to explore and find a second one. So he'll check around now to see where that soul core respawned so he can grab it and put it in the other generator. Having a bit of trouble getting his leap slam to work there. You can jump up those, but distance and positioning is a little bit tricky at times. But I love the jump over the doorways. It's the classic Path of Exile thing. Jumping over the walls. But supposedly there's a roof there, but it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
Well, the classic PoE skip, as Alex Bleblord is now farming the blue mobs as well. So pretty much the perfect strategy for all of these players here. They're all going to be engaging in this, which is pretty cool. As Torgul is beginning to spawn for Sarge, will we be seeing this insane single target as he drops the bell? The build up, it's immense. I can't
Ruthless on the
wait.
second bell. He's got both of them fully supported, getting ready for some massive damage. I expect a pretty fast kill here once he gets those charges up.
Here we go, drops the bell.
Second bell's down. Mana is a problem when you drop both of those bells. Yeah, you can see it interrupts him. He couldn't get his attacks off. Had to wait for that mana to recover first. So not really able to take full advantage of the bells. They disappeared by the time the mana's back. So that mana management is really crucial there. And anything that's going to help with that. Yeah, the second bell not really like paying off if you can't hit either of them. Unfortunately, not getting that super fast kill as a
he
result.
didn't like what he saw there. That was a little bit tricky from Sarge. I think we were expecting a little bit more there. Maybe his weapon is also getting a little bit outdated on top of the slight mana mismanagement. I suppose Monk is able to slow down in single targets, and we just saw it.
He's taking a look at doing a little bit of shopping in town right now, looking for some boots. Maybe not really happy with the amount of movement speed that he has currently. Terrence continuing to seemingly struggle a little bit with these packs. Of course, how you engage with grenades is when you're playing slow and not racing, grenades work really well because you can lead with them and prep grenades in advance of the packs moving into them. But when you're racing, you want to be like, moving fast, and you don't necessarily want to be playing like that. Oh my lord, Angormus just killed the boss.
I saw that barely.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of boss there, but there he goes. Oh, it was like a 1-2 perfect strike, bam. Very nice.
I mean, this is the tricky part. Continuing the Terrence conversation, the mercenary conversation, this is really one of those breakpoints, right? The first breakpoint for mercenary is before level 10, before you are able to get that big crossbow, then start using your bigger abilities. But also you're at an awkward point now where you didn't want to upgrade your weapon at 16. You're kind of thinking, okay, I should be upgrading my weapon at 26, which I believe he's getting close to. But at the same time, you're switching to another weapon at 33 later on if he is going to be going that far. So maybe this is going to be the moment where Terrence is getting his level 26 and he will be dumping all of that currency to try and improve not just his single target, but also his AoE clear, which is something that so far he has been shown to struggle with as he is upgrading both the mace for that perfect strike that you're watching right now, but also the crossbow for those caustic grenades, gas grenades even. It's a caustic arrow, I think. Gas grenade.
Interesting to see if he has enough resources to craft both the level 28 mace, if he can get his hands on one, and then level up into that, and also, a bombard crossbow as well. Getting both of those things is definitely pulling yourself in a few different directions. So, but I love the weapon combos, and if they can pull it off, that extra resource consumption could be well worth it. He's getting like a comfortable Torgul Defiler kill here, but not overly fast.
Yeah. Looks okay. I mean, he isn't really utilizing his spirit, which might be something.
It's got a bit of cold damage from runes and gear, it appears. Enough to build up a freeze on the boss fight, which is a little bit unusual with Perfect Strike, the fire skill, after all.
I don't know if that's a good indicator, though. That's not necessarily something that you want to be seeing on your weapon, but maybe it's his only option.
Alex Pueblo is level 27, so he's got the rest of this level to get, which he's maybe just a few packs away from before he likely moves on. I don't imagine he'll be staying beyond 28 at this point, as he's been in this area for a little while now. I do feel like Alex is clearing up a bit more. It does leave the last couple stragglers there, which is probably what he wants. And Gomez going very low to a pack of monkeys in the jungles there, as he tries to get to the Matlan Waterways switch. And this zone in particular is probably one to focus on because this is one of the most dangerous zones that he'll have to progress through here. The Matlan Waterways is sketchy. Getting no death through this zone would be impressive. He can do it, but it's definitely a cheer-worthy moment. So there's some tactics he has here to deal with this problem, right? Like these switches are being stacked with packs. If there's a particularly bad switch, he can use reset at checkpoint tactically to reset all the packs and move them around so that he can maybe get a cleaner run at the switch without having to necessarily kill everything or kite or, die as well. And while Leap Zone looks like it can ignore a lot of those enemies, it actually can't. So you have to be very careful about your movement through those zones. Guy that dies on their jump and rock kill now as well.
It's looking okay. I mean, the life management, you can see that he's really trying to hold back as much as possible to use that life flask. He knows that it's a very valuable resource if he wants to continue to maximize his damage with those stacks. Dropping very low here. Okay, finally decides to flask. Everything is
Calculated
under control. No
flask
stress.
usage. Yeah, just really getting the most juice out of that flask. It heals about that amount of life that he has. So
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure its recovery is something like 350. So yep.
I mean, 340 HP on the guy that dies, a significantly lower amount compared to some of the warriors that we've been seeing so far. But the damage output,
600 energy shield, but it's not helpful when it's not there.
yeah, that's the thing, right? You just end up dying when your energy shield is not quite there. I mean, he does manage to get through the phase, but I gotta say, I'm not as impressed as I thought I'm going to be in regards to the single target. Yeah, you've got a lot more mobility. You're not as committed to performing those attacks because most of the time you're relying on dots and you're trying to min-max the amount of hit damage that's coming out of your essence drain. But that hit damage is almost negligible. It's just something that you have to be doing no matter what. I would have liked to see maybe another ability that he could have utilized here. This does not feel like it's quite enough. I mean, the SRSs are coming out, but they're virtually not gaining any benefits from the demon form either. But it's the best thing that you're going to be able to do here as the stacks continue to ramp up. 28, and these are the mechanics that we were talking about previously. A lot of zoning mechanics, things that limit your mobility, and things that generally do a lot of damage. Even for our Garmus, he had a lot of respect for those. I saw him picking up a lightning ring before this fight. Hopefully the same thing happened for Guy that dies, as he has to dodge those slams. Those were almost took down on Garmus. Guy that dies will most likely be one-shot by those.
We are seeing him a bit more of the mechanics this time around. He's managing and positioning very well. Does get that portal up here right underneath him there, but manages to use that excellent dash on the demon form to get out of the way and reposition. And that mobility is looking really nice. And kind of gets stuck on that tornado, going a little bit low, but the energy shield's still there. Feeling pretty comfortable, able to kind of slowly close out the fight as all the minions are down at this point. He's just using those essence drains to try and finish him off there.
And
Gets it and types an easy in chat. Now, we just missed it, but oh no, he's going to do it right now. And Gormus has got tech. See, watch him. He's spam clicking the portal while he does the switch, and it skips the law. It skips the law. If you time it, there's like a thing that holds you there for a little while after that point. But if you spam click it while doing the switch, you just get straight to town. It's amazing.
Holy
law skip.
That's actually super
I'm
cool.
doing that. I'm doing that from now on.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one at all.
Spam click the portal. Yeah, because no one likes those long switches. Skips the end of the switch, skips the law. Amazing. It's a game changer for all of us in our leveling from now on. I'm glad we got to see that one.
Speaking of dangerous zones, just about every single zone going forward from now for Angormus is going to be just incredibly sketchy.
Except probably this one. This one's actually a fairly comfortable one. We might even see him remove his chest a little bit later on in the Drowned City. The boss fight is a bit of a different matter, but the actual zone here is pretty manageable with the movement that you have access to and kind of the way the enemies are spaced out. You're
telling me that he's not going to stand still and die to a drowning orb for 3 seconds?
No, probably not. I think standing still is the opposite of what he wants to be doing. You got like those slow tree slams and stuff. He hasn't removed the chest, so he's obviously not feeling quite comfortable enough to do that. I've seen him do it in this zone before. So maybe just feeling a little shook after the Zyclusian death earlier, maybe. Not fully happy with the resistances and survivability he has.
I think you're right. I mean, there are 2 tricky parts about this zone for my playthroughs. So first of all, when you kill the big guys, this is a tricky part right now. There's a big blue pack here, and they chase you down incredibly fast. Will he be able to get away from them?
He's too fast. He's out of there. Look at that. Shield charge, dodge roll.
I mean, they're still on him. They do a lot of damage.
You're going to chase him all the way to the boss fight.
Yeah, wow, he actually does manage to get out. So that's one of the tricky parts where that guaranteed blue pack spawns there. And it does an insane amount of damage and swarms you very quickly. But then also those big bloaters, whenever you kill them, they explode at the end. And that tends to do a lot of damage too. But not for Angormus. He has it perfectly under control, as Ziggy is saying. And he's going to make quick work of that zone in particular.
So the Apex of Health is a little bit more dangerous, but one really nice thing with Leaf Slam here is you can actually skip a lot of this zone with the waterways. So this layout should hopefully be like a big kind of spiraling snail shell to the right. And if so, he can skip these waterways just here. Yeah, and he should be able to do that several times, which will make this zone way faster. And also quite a bit safer too, allow you to skip a lot of those nasty packs that he doesn't want to really be engaging with. So he should have another skip coming up just ahead here that he can take advantage of with that Leap Slam. And since everyone's taking advantage of that Leap Slam, they should be able to do the same thing if they've got their zone reads down comfortably. But looking pretty good for his progression through there. There's a bit of Jam and Ra going on.
There's Terrence, there's an Alex battling neck and neck. They're actually pretty much at the exact same phase of the
identical Jam and Ras. I want to see like a synchronized perfect strike from them. That would be amazing.
Is it coming?
I mean, there's the opportunity for the second phase. It's pretty close. the synchronized cart chopping there. Dr. Dexter just moving into their fight as well. Only a little bit. They've got a couple rares chasing them into the fight, so they use reset at checkpoint to get rid of them. We've got Terrence pre-stacking the grenades. I do like the gas grenade pre-stack. And its lingering effects makes it easier to also follow up with a perfect strike. So I think the tech's there, but it's the execution. We'll need a bit of practice over the coming weeks. But Alex Pablo only just ahead. A big perfect strike into gas grenade detonation from Terrence. Catches up the life bars a bit. I'm actually feeling like Terrence is doing a bit more damage here.
Yeah, it's really not far off whatsoever, but that's pretty impressive. You're able to keep up with the warrior.
Yeah, he's been forced to move by the mechanics, which is slowing him down. But also Alex is too. Jamanro's sitting right on top of everything, making it much harder for Alex to get a...
Terrence, no life flash, no forms of recovery. Dropping low now, 50%.
Oh, the detonation, though. The detonation secures the fight for him. See, that gas grenade paying off big time for him there. And gets him to clutch out the fight in a very sketchy manner. Just barely making it through. I noticed he picked up a bristle bore unique chest, which he does not appear to be using. Swapping to the shield for his movement from now on, as the two-hander is not ideal for your leap slam, nor shield charge. Certainly, you can't shield charge with a two-hander after all. Dr. Dexter's Jam and Ra fight. Now, a little bit of a different one. We did see one witch fight earlier, which went a little slower with the minions dying at the end. We'll see how Dexter goes with the execution here.
Yeah, no last breath on those SRSs. It ends up making it so that they are dying pretty much immediately, and that's the primary source of damage coming out here. I mean, there are these skeletons, but they're really not doing all that much either for him, as they tend to die pretty quickly. They do have the one that allows them to live for a little bit longer as well, the last breath. So that one is proving to be quite effective, because he's still micromanaging his inventory even here. I mean, I gotta say, it is a really good thing to do overall, right? Whenever you're having a cutscene, you're managing your inventory. That's something that Terrence... wait a minute.
Giant slam.
That's something that Terrence has been struggling with, and it tends to extend his boss fights because he's always micromanaging his loot after. But yeah, Dr. Dexter taking a big slam. Still trying to min-max his damage, but it's not looking nearly as good, I must say, as Angormus is now battling.
Yeah, here comes Ketsuli. And with correctly timed stun here, he can avoid pretty much all of this fight, but it's not happening. He does go into the projectiles, which could have been avoided. Didn't quite able to get that damage off and get that stun going.
Dexter died.
Oh. Why, camera guy? Why? Poor Dexter.
I like how we always go full screen whenever the people are already dead.
Standing there suffering. And Gomez does get the kill there and is kind of... Oh, they're waiting for a specific line. Actually, I know about this. When Alva says wait, they click the portal, and that's the lore skip for that boss. You can skip several lines of dialogue that way. If you leave before that point, though, you have to like go back and listen to the dialogue. So I like got all the lore skips min-maxed, and several of the perfect strike timings as well. Like we missed it, but the Queen of Filth fight, for example, she does her double slam every time she comes out. You go right on the second slam, you start channeling your perfect strike, and that optimizes it to hit her right as she becomes targetable.
That's so nice. That's got to be a hard one to hit too, because
yeah,
got a lot of mobility for that.
Yeah,
Dexter
you gotta be right there. It's a little tricky.
I'm watching Dexter, and I am swinging for him right now. It's just so much that HP that he's losing on a very consistent basis. He does have 500 HP. He doesn't want to die again, but man, he is dropping low very frequently. I wonder what's so different about his setup compared to the other ones, as Alex is going for that 4-link pickup. And is guaranteed the Lesser Jeweler Orb in this part. Can be a little bit tricky to find, but he's going to be going for it and using it on his perfect strike to get even more single target as Dexter.
What again? Where? The full screen. Killing me.
Oh, here we go.
Dexter.
Dexter is dying, but Angormus.
Big fight for Angormus here. So this fight is exponentially harder if you do not have enough damage. Because I see that he's got the right mace on. I don't know what it's crafted like, but it's got 2 sockets, so that's promising.
It's perfect.
Is he going to mouse over it for us? Go on, just mouse over it for us. Show the mace. He's got nice 15% movement speed, but we don't see the mace there. He's got the right. We're going to have to trust that he's got enough damage to make this fight nice and clean. But yeah, this fight can be very dangerous. We've all died at this fight, right?
No.
There's a nice little bit of tech there, which he didn't manage to pull off, actually. It's that the player can't actually use any abilities while others getting face punched. So you can pre-channel Perfect Strike and it starts at the exact right moment. But maybe, that's clean. Right into the stun.
Good.
Can you keep chaining it? Yes, she goes up in the air right at the wrong time for that Perfect Strike to miss. Lands another good one though. Just needs 2 more. Yes, that was brilliant. Nearly perfect.
Wow.
Nearly perfect. And he's able to skip the majority of that fight as a result, and actually gets a perfect gem grab there too. So those packs quite dangerous. Usually you have to kind of wrangle them away from the gem and then go back for it, because there's a tier 2 support gem there, which you really want. It's soft on your first one. And it's really hard to grab that. You have to pull the pack away, but he actually grabs it just from right under their noses and gets away scot-free from that pack with the gem intact. So a really clean exit to the fight as well there. A little bit of nuance even just to the post-fight phase as well. But that tier 2 support lets him add Raging Cry to Infernal Cry, which gives him rage stacks for 16% more damage on boss fights. So a really nice boost there for the upcoming final boss fight.
Yeah, that's gonna make a really big difference. And honestly, that stun was just so perfectly timed, because that boss
beautiful.
has 2 very difficult phases. One where you can't do damage. That's the one where you're getting poked by the spears. But the other one being where she flies up in the air and she starts dropping out this chaos and lightning damage. And yeah, you can damage her, but it does make it a lot more difficult, because you tend to take a lot of damage whenever you're standing still and trying to land that big perfect strike. So really well done by Angormus. I think that's probably the best fight of that boss that we're going to be seeing, as Angormus now is closing in on the final boss.
Yeah.
He
had a
nearby.
Perfect run through that last zone. Basically, you travel the highway road right through the middle, and with perfect movement, you can wiggle side to side and weave in your leap slams, and if you really optimize it, some shield charges as well to make it even faster. And kind of like you really just like zigzag through those packs really cleanly, and he had a pretty good run through it. So a really fast run through that zone, and I love to see just like I really enjoy seeing like good movement and skill usage and just great piloting of the character, which Angormus is doing so well here. And sounds a little dangerous, but something that helps is a lot of these enemies actually kind of don't activate until quite late. So you can kind of take advantage of that with your shield charge kind of catching them unaware almost. So he does get a clean run through there. And now moving into the Black Chambers. And this is, for Angormus, the final zones. So we've got the Jarman Ra fight finishing up for Dr. Dexter. Hopefully he can get a clean kill there. But Angormus needs to get a clean run through to the boss, and then he'll be able to potentially secure his run, as far as I can tell. Angormus is the first character into Black Chambers. That's right. I'm just checking the ladder real quick as well, because
Verifying.
the Mercenary Whole New Society is actually over leveled. They're 32, while Angormus is still at 30. So
Are you
that's
going for
exactly where
33?
Angormus wants to be.
He wants that bombarding crossbow, I think. So he's going for the 33.
Oh, is it 33 for that one? Is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was a 28. Oh, that is a substantial breakpoint for the grenades then, but that takes a lot of extra time. The big danger here is getting stuck on these doors and just kind of getting stun locked by these pretty dangerous enemies. The Wind Dancer was a game changer for Angormus. I was talking to him about it, and like getting Wind Dancer on for Act 3 run was a huge improvement to his like comfort moving through these final really dangerous
production. We're finishing the event. Angormus.
Yeah. Let's focus on
He needs
Angormus.
a full screen here.
this guy's about to be the winner of the first ever Path of Exile 2 race. We're gonna pay attention to that. So he swaps Martial Strike here onto Perfect Strike on a Perfect Strike to optimize that damage right before the Doryani fight. Now, the timing for the Perfect Strike is right when he says, "For me," he channels it and gets a pretty good hit there. Misses that second one, has to reposition. Another good hit. If he can do this right, he can avoid the laser phase. So if you see lasers, you just know that Angormus is not happy. Let's see if we can avoid the lasers. Has to dodge the flamethrower and is not able to get on top of him in Perfect Strike. Has to reposition behind him. Oh, lasers come down. Yeah, the repositioning does mean that he has to wait for the laser phase now, which is not what he wanted. You can avoid that, but had to kind of dodge those flamethrowers and missed that one Perfect Strike. A couple repositions just cost him a bit too much time there. So a little bit of a slowdown on that first phase, but now he just kind of has to wait for the mech form as we get to see Angormus close out, hopefully cleanly with no upsets. There is room for death here. Remember, this guy's like 10 levels under leveled at this point. So let's see how he closes it out. Doryani second phase, going for the slam, repositioning to the side. The Perfect Strikes are big. The damage immense. Ooh, looks like whiffs one there. Swings under the legs. Eats two slams, but gets the stun on Doryani's, which is exactly what he needs. Gives him time to recover.
Finish it.
Yeah, he's got to close it out now at this point. Doryani wakes the machine back up with a slap. Gets in behind him. You got to watch out for the bot lasers, though. He knows when they're coming down, though. Nice. Perfect dodge on that one. Right underneath the arm. He's going...
Has to dodge the explosion now. Yeah, you have to finish it.
He has to wait. But
it's worth it.
Yeah. Patience at this point. He has the lead. I don't know whether he knows about the lead, but he has it. Ooh, a little bit of greed. It's okay. Gets the kill. And congratulations to Angormus. Angormus, the first character to complete Act 3. There you go. Locks it in. The world first winner of the world first Path of Exile 2 race. I see a bright future for Angormus, the warrior racer, with just absolutely phenomenal piloting of the warrior and a very good race overall. I think only one death in the end, wasn't it? Incredible work.
Yeah, and an incredible time too. 2:28 is I think he should be extremely proud about that. That is a very, very good run for him.
Yeah, doing it on the day is very different to doing it across like 10 practice runs. His best time, I believe, was 2 hours 24. So not far off that perfect that time there. So a very, very good finish for Angormus. And
which, by the way, is also the world record.
Yes,
I mean, 4 minutes off is really good in such a long race.
The world record. Didn't beat it, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a faster time than the world record by next week, whether it's in practice or on the day. I think all these players are going to be getting better and better, and we'll see people clean up their strategies. Yeah, he's going to do it, man. We've had world records on the day before. Let's see it again. Alex Plebwood, take it down. Execution.
The especially impressive part about that was just the fact that, he's had 1 or 0 deaths in the end. I can't quite remember, but I was more so anticipating, at least 3, 4, maybe even 5. But no, just incredible play, great focus for Angormus, and an expected win for some, but I'm sure that he's still incredibly happy about that.
I was definitely thinking Angormus would be taking this win, but we do see the weapon. The weapon's really good too. So he did have that white weapon, which helped a lot in the look at that weapon there. Attack speed, double damage, the big physical roll, and managed to get the sockets going. Actually immense weapon. So he did manage to close out on the weapon. very nicely there. Empty rune socket on the helmet. So I did forget about that though. It's all right.
I mean, as long as you're having those physical runes in your weapon, you're chilling. It's all good.
That's the main thing. The damage is the important one. We see a reset to checkpoint there. Meanwhile,
this was the fight where Angormus
died.
died. This was his only death. I remember now.
It was the Zyclusion with the 2% cold resistance, just eating that entire frost breath and getting stuck there. Taking a lot of damage. Woody just taken down. It's like, oh no, Zyclusion gets away with a narrow escape with just 1 hit point. That means an entire extra pillar phase.
This was the tricky part too. He can absolutely get shotgunned there and die.
Oh dear. Yeah, eats a bit of the poison tail as well, but does manage to survive. Woody costing another 10-15 seconds there in the boss fight than he wanted. Unfortunate. But now we can see how the rest of the players go. In the end, I was fully expecting Angormus to take this one. His practice has been immense. He's been world record holding. But what I have been truly surprised about is just how close it's been through much of the race. He took the lead at the end there pretty firmly, but a lot of the race was very close. And we've seen 3 classes splitting kind of with a top potential to actually close out and take a win. So who knows what we're going to be seeing week 3? Are we going to see like the advantage of Warrior increase, or are we going to see the other classes kind of figure out their strategies and refine them and get that level of practice that Angormus has? Because Warrior is a big deal, but as we've seen, like the other classes have some big things going for them. Look at the Bell from Monk doing massive damage. And I think potential with the crossbow setup as well, but it's the practice. Angormus has been practicing like crazy.
Yeah, because that tends to be the case, right? Whenever you're practicing, really the part that you're going to be resetting at the most is Act 1. So a lot of these players, I'm sure, have a lot of Act 1 practice, probably a little bit of Act 2. But Angormus has been doing these really long runs for pretty much 3 months now, just about every day. So he's really put in the work, and it really showed where, some players were keeping up in Act 1, but Act 2 and Act 3, kind of a blowout. He really did a great job there.
He was telling me that he's been doing some specific Act 3 practice sessions as well, where like he just practices that segment, which it works because you're not really like leveling through that anyway. So you can just take a character and rerun that potentially.
Oh yeah, right.
Get that sort of like specific practice down for those later sections, which is hard to do. And that's why you see like a bigger gap for the players that have managed to do that in that later section as you get those optimizations, those zone reads and things like that as well. So who's our next? We got. Go ahead. Sorry.
I am furiously refreshing the ladder. We do have confirmation that Angormus is the only player to finish so far. 2 hours, 28 minutes, 37 seconds so far.
Time.
No second placement, but a mercenary at level 33, whole new society that unfortunately we are not able to watch. That is the breakpoint for the bombarding crossbow, which allows him to have an extra projectile grenade, which lets him not just increase the amount of single target, but also the spread of the grenades, getting better coverage with those caustic grenades. That's a big breakpoint, and it's kind of impressive because, I mean, that's a 5-level difference between him and Angormus, and potentially the time isn't going to be that far apart. So maybe with some min-maxing mercenary is really the class to watch out for. I wonder if that bombarding quiver is really worth it. I mean, I find it comparable to the Witch's Ascendancy, where she goes for the demon form.
Yeah, I think like that 5 levels on the mercenaries, like a lot of extra time to invest. So we'll see if that kind of pays off, if it can be optimized a bit more. But Whole New Society does look like they're going to be potentially taking that second slot. We'll see on the ladder when that does happen. And that would put them as first mercenary, with Raylan in rank 5 currently being the next mercenary down. But they have a few more levels to get to that 33 breakpoint if they're pushing for that as well. So yes, the next runner on stream is going to be Guy That Dies on the Infernalist.
Yeah, Guy That Dies.
One of our extended characters.
And I gotta say, there's another person ranking up. This is a sorceress, currently rank 4, Lightspeed Cake, which is pretty interesting. They're level 31, so really not far apart whatsoever. I did think that some players, it's really either 28 or 31 or 33 for the breakpoints that players are going for. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of finishes very soon, as a Guy That Dies is also 31 now, and he's for the most part just trying to get through really only killing things that are in the way, similar to in PoE1, whenever you're only really killing to keep up those Quicksilver charges. But no Quicksilver charges in PoE2, so you're
Yep.
just trying to get past things, right? Not get body blocked, not die. As again, these players are quite low level and they are trying to simply stay alive, despite the fact that Ungormus made it look very easy. It is not. These players are taking a lot of risks charging through these zones.
Yeah, had a really clean run through. We didn't see all of it, but as far as I could tell, he didn't suffer a death in the Matlan waterways, which is really impressive because it's really easy to die there potentially multiple times, trying to get those switches and dealing with those packs through there. There's also a skip in that zone, which presumably took advantage of. I don't know if we get a chance to see that maybe on Sarge's, since he's coming up to that as well. But there's a section near the end of the layout where you can hit one of the switches and then reset at checkpoint and just leap down into the waterway instead of like running along the waterways.
Oh,
So you can skip a large section of the zone that way. It's quite cool.
Wow, those skips are really cool. That's really nice to hear. Those forms of optimizations are always super interesting when it comes to speedrunning, because you know more and more of it is going to be coming out as Alex is now fighting the boss that was previously one shot that we've witnessed, but
yes, we
so
blinked
here.
and missed it on on the when we saw it before. So now's a chance to actually see the Zakotal Warden fight here with some actual mechanics going down. Alex Bloodlord taking them down relatively quickly with some nice perfect strikes there, but getting shoved around and pushed away from the perfect strike. Unfortunate.
Yeah, missed. This is definitely taking a significantly longer amount of time, getting some big hits in with that
Yeah,
stun, making sure to
should be
maximize damage output.
has to
Having to
deal with another
dodge.
explosion though, which I feel like kind of just standing near the corner and doing a little dodge roll to get back on the fight a little quicker there for those explosions could help too. But Sarge
Right.
having a very nice first section of Zyclusion there. We'll see if they can keep them going. They were so close to a stun, but unfortunately Zyclusion does fly away and land on one of the pillars, so it's going to take them the second phase of the fight before they can get that kill.
Though.
Oh, they'll definitely
Can
have
he
it here.
put out
There's
enough damage?
no
Yeah,
question. I see 3 bells now. Alex going into the Matlan waterways now. Again, a dangerous zone with a lot of difficult packs and switches to hit. And it'll be interesting to see whether he takes advantage of like reset at checkpoint to deal with some of that, or if he just tries to fight his way through. So far, having some clean leap slams through this first area, but the real challenges are in these small rooms here.
Somebody needs to tell whole new society that this is not a level 100 race. He's level 34 now and still hasn't finished.
Possibly picking up an incidental extra level on the way as they're pushing now, I imagine.
And before they're still in Act 2. Hold up.
Wait, can you tell where they are? Or maybe with who is in game?
Technically, I could. You know what? I could verify where they are, right? Can't you check who is in game? I will log in.
He's logging in. Log in.
Log in, baby.
Log in. In the meantime, the guy that dies is on the Infernalist here in demon form, blasting away as a Zakotal. Like it's a nice, like pleasantly moving health bar there for Zakotal. It's not that same speedy chunking of the perfect strikes, but honestly, pretty fast. If you pulled that off in the campaign, you'd be pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
And a clean kill, and I mean, basically only just one phase from that makes that ultimately a pretty quick fight. Only marginally less fast than, the perfect strikes and whatnot.
Oh god, their name is just a bunch of random letters. Listen, Ziggy, you keep going. This is going to take a while.
Best of luck to you, Rise. Oh, we can see exactly what I'm talking about here. These zones being just incredibly dangerous. See, there's no way he's going to be able to hit that lever safely without just dying there. So he does try to do a reset at checkpoint, ends up relogging and going back into the zone. And not what he wanted here. He wanted to reset at checkpoint. Not sure what happened with the relog. I think that was an accident, which does put him back a bit, but better than dying and eating the 1 minute. So now that'll reset the packs and everything, and he has a chance of maybe having a bit of a better clean run here. You can see those shockwaves pushing the enemies away, which is just super crucial. That's exactly what he wants. He gets a chance to get that switch. I don't like the way he's getting surrounded there, having to oh no, go for another checkpoint. That's not ideal at all. Yeah. It's not exactly what he wants.
GF is in
Matlin Waterways. So,
So,
actually
yeah.
quite significantly over leveled. Maybe with a little bit of optimization to the progression for this
At this
player,
point-
they might have the mechanical ability of
Yeah. It seems like,
potentially taking first in the next race. Really impressive.
Yeah, it seems like with some refinement, there's some strong potential there, but
Yeah.
just a little bit behind maybe where they want to be at this point. But that does mean they're pushing now, and they probably picked up an extra level incidentally. I'd say 33 was that breakpoint they were pushing for on Mercenary. Alex Pueblo able to get through and get that switch there. The Wind Dancer really carrying hard in this zone with just the danger of these enemies, having them just get pushed back so you can get those clear leap slams through. It's just so crucial. Makes a big difference here. Oh, goes very low. See, even the time to pull off the very fast Bone Shatter combo with Rolling Slam is still very difficult. So, and taking extra time to clear up the packs like this is not really what you want to be doing because there's no advantage to be gained by getting that extra XP. You get an extra level, like might help you a little bit, but really you just want to be pushing through. But better that than a reset. He's had too many close calls at this point, so maybe just playing it a bit safe right now. And it'll be interesting to see if Alex knows about the potential to do a waterways skip. I think it's on this lever here. So I believe if you reset a checkpoint here, we'll see if he does just that. No, I think he is going down the waterway. So yeah, so that one you can reset at that checkpoint off to the right there on the map. And that lets you actually like leap slam down from the narrow bridge section into the waterways and run that way instead of running through. I believe that was on that layout. It looks identical to what I've seen in the past. But nonetheless, gets a pretty clean run through in the end anyway. Woody doing some FPS DPS once more.
Looking good. That damage is noticeable.
This is exactly the boss for this, right?
Yeah.
Just a big dude that sits there. So it's pretty right. Just the amount of hits going off. It's like it's a little wild, isn't it?
It looks a little bit crazy.
The damage is there. I wonder if he managed to get a better bow in the end. But Alex has still got a bit of waterways to go. I might have been wrong about the specific spot where that skip is, so we'll see if that happens here. It might be this lever then, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
oh, Alex!
Oh,
he is so dead.
He gets he hovers on the reset checkpoint and then goes for the logout. I don't think he died. No. But
I mean, he had to exit the character to pause the screen because if he did the strategy where you pause again, I think he would have died. So he had to take that extra time to do so. I mean, it worked out, but every little bit costs, and he has a long ways away to run back to. But also with Woody Joe's single target, I gotta say, it really is showcasing that with a little bit of refinement in those earlier fights. I think he has a lot of potential to deliver the same sort of damage.
Oh, mate, the monk damage is not quite getting it to stick around for as long as you want, but gets the second set of bells down. And can it close out on the second set of bells? Yeah, nice. Very. Oh, wait, not quite. Oh, just finishing off with a couple more hits there. Just a few little taps to finish it off. Pretty good overall. Very fast.
Yeah, that was good. That looked good.
Scoops up his loot. Looks like Alex is going to be a little bit better. Yeah, I did kind of expect the first bell. The first bell to just explode, but it's not quite managing. He didn't really run out of mana at that point, but we're not able to say what the state of his weapons are. Alex is just having so many upsets. I could see the frustration in the mouse cursor movements there as he's like, shaking back and forth. And having to do an unfortunately pretty long reset checkpoint here, which means a fair bit of backtracking. But once again, better than dying. I mean, he has managed to avoid any deaths. That's a big win, even if you've had 5 close calls and resets. It's about as bad as a death, but you don't want to do that and then also have a death. So coming out ahead there, baby.
Mechanically, he's still playing perfectly. So if you just look at the cursor movement, as he jumps into a wall. Come on, Alex. I was going to showcase. He's one of the most mechanically gifted players in PoE1. So I'm thinking this guy is really showing off. He was playing so perfectly. I cursed him. My caster cursed him.
He didn't pre-place the portal. Alex. He doesn't know the tech. He doesn't know the portal spam click tech.
He needs coaching from the ZIGGYD.
See, look, he's got to kill these guys. He's got to do a regular portal cast now. Oof, brutal. It's only
brutal.
But when it comes to switches, any second saved is a big deal when it comes to switches in this game.
It's true. It's true.
We lose too many years of our lives to switches.
Angormus is going for maps. Okay, interesting. He's still going. I can see the name in lights.
Practicing for the inevitable end of campaign runs. Although I imagine those will probably come with new additional acts. So, just getting a bit more practice in at a higher difficulty, New Game Plus mode time.
Yeah, I think so. Interesting strategy from Alex too. 2 sockets in his armor, but no sockets in his weapon. Level 30. Probably looking to get that level 31 before. Maybe, I mean, to be honest, maybe not so much, because at this point it does become very difficult to actually XP up. And since he didn't get into the previous zone, considering all the risks he was taking, he's probably kind of comfortable where he's at right now. But a significant amount of overleveling compared to Ang, for sure.
Alex Pleblord currently looks to be holding 3rd position, with 2nd position going to the Whole New Society Mercenary. So a good chance that they lock in number 1 Mercenary. Of course, Guy That Dies being, well, let's think about progression here, actually, because level-wise is not the thing that matters right now.
Right.
Where is Guy That Dies? Where are they going in terms of progression, I wonder? Because they are level 34 at this point, so getting quite high level, honestly. Very over-leveled. Might be a bit of a different story. Woody goes down there, it looks
Woody
like, as
is
well,
dead,
suffering a little
yeah.
bit of a death. Unfortunate.
I saw that frustration.
Okay, so Guy That Dies is in the later parts of Matlin Waterway on the Infernalist. Okay, so they're in with a pretty solid shot at 3rd place, but Alex Bloodlord is currently leading. Guy That Dies might be a bit more powerful and have an easier time through here, but they are actually kind of fighting their way through the Matlin Waterways, which is going to slow them down a bit. Then again, we did see some slowdowns for Alex, so we'll see if they can catch up. So I don't know who to call it for between Alex and Guy That Dies, but right now Alex may be taking 3rd in terms of actual act progression. He doesn't have too much more to go unless he has some upsets on the boss or something coming up. But of course, being a warrior means that warrior's 1st place has already been claimed. So he's not going to get himself a helmet if he does take the next win. But, when you're a professional racer, you're not just, you don't win the helmet, you don't just quit, right? You finish the runoff.
No, you gotta finish
can.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very important practice. Again, it's so much more valuable in a life scenario compared to just your personal runs, And this is just so much more valuable. It's the real life experience.
The nervousness and the dealing with things on the day is very different.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Ty23 talking about practicing in, or maybe it was Taito Killer practicing in adverse conditions to prepare for Exilecon. Like being uncomfortable, making themselves really uncomfortable to play because they knew they'd be playing on an unfamiliar computer and in a setup with like a crowd and things. So it's I love that sort of thing. That mindset stuff is great.
It really works. It makes all the difference. I mean, I know plenty of professional players in other genres, but even in PoE, players who have to show up on the stage, and typically when they're at home, they're not wearing any shoes. But then when you're on a stage, you have to wear shoes. So they're uncomfortable for first, and then eventually they start taking shoes. So like, even though you're on a live stage, you want to look your
you
best.
just take your
but then
shoes
you're
off at
playing shoeless.
Exilecon. That's the other option. Just wear your pajamas to Exilecon and take your shoes off. That's also a strategy, I suppose.
Yeah, Taito Killer was saying that he typically plays without pants, so that was a pretty awkward conversation at Exilecon, I gotta say.
Probably didn't want to do that one on stage, I guess.
Yeah.
We got Alex Pleblord coming into the fight now. Let's see if he gets some nice perfect strikes / infernal cry opening on the fight and manages to avoid getting big slams. I see warming up the perfect strike there a little bit. Waiting. Again, rolling slam. It just kind of waits for a regular opening for the fight there, but actually lands a really nice perfect strike to open up anyway. So it goes into it with confidence. Now, it does miss that second one, though, just slightly too far away. That's the thing. I know Angoras was talking about not using concentrated effect despite the damage on there.
He's panicking a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of ads. He's trying to set them up, but he isn't quite able to do so. A lot of mobility on this boss. The Queen of Filth is no measly foe.
He gets the stun on her there, though, at the halfway point, causing it to reel back, but he doesn't really capitalize on it as she's staggering back away from his perfect strikes, which is always that's the tricky thing with the perfect strike. You got to learn how the bosses fall over because every enemy has different heavy stun animations. Some of them fling themselves 10 meters away from you, so everything's a little bit tricky. But no more real upsets for the rest of the fight there, and does manage to get a somewhat clean
Nice.
kill after a little bit of an awkward beginning there.
My God,
That
we're still
does,
seeing the waterways for a lot of the other players. I mean, this is a
yeah.
really tricky zone.
And both Sarge and Terrence seemingly fought their way through the waterways, which is really like, it's quite likely that they've practiced trying to leap through there and just found that they weren't able to do it reliably enough. So they've gone
Yeah.
for the safer but much slower strategy of actually fighting their way through here. Because again, it's not like they really want to be XPing here. The XP penalties mean that they're not really getting much XP here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose a lot of time to that fighting. So they have indeed been in there a while, but it's a tough fight. It's a tough zone. You got to do what's right for you to get through there in the end, hopefully without any deaths.
We're
I think we
getting
missed.
close here. Oh,
Yeah, Alex Playboard's not got too much more to go now. This boss fight's like only moments before the final one, but we missed this section on Angora, so I'm glad we get to see it now because there's a few things to point out. So there's these like sections of the walls that are like tables and workbenches. You can actually leap slam through those, and there's some nice zone cuts that you can do where you can cut off like half of the zone with that as well, if you recognize the correct layout and take advantage of those jumps. So obviously you can get through that little section there, just like that one, like Alex did just now. But there's some of these like tabled wider sections as well to take advantage of. But try to do the leap there, and
I don't know if that's saving you any time, Alex.
gives up there. And gets a little stuck on the way around, so not exactly ideal. Obviously, you can leap over those gaps as well, which is really nice. Another thing I saw in the past is that you, with a certain layout, you can actually just run through the sun. I've seen that as a strategy. You just run right through the middle and go straight to the other side.
I mean,
all right, let's see how he goes.
The fire
with
is
his,
scary, but it doesn't
fight.
do that much damage.
Yeah, if you actually just go through it quickly, it's like proximity doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah,
just run right through the sun. Just touch the sun on your way past. Give it a little slap. Ketsuli, dodges with the little dashes there. Yeah, Ketsuli does do those little back and forth dashes there. Very cute, but does manage to get a follow-up one.
The lower HP he has, the more of those dashes he performs. So not really optimal for your perfect strike gameplay.
Yeah,
want this boss to be standing still.
It's very tricky for perfect strike, and I imagine it'll be tricky for those lightning rod players as well, and maybe even grenaders trying to set those grenades down as well. Oh, it goes into a bullet hell phase, which I don't think we even saw before. So unfortunate for Alex.
I mean, this is absolutely worst case scenario for Alex. Not only does he get the firestorm now that he has to dodge, he had the bullet phase, he dodged the boss, dodged his first attack, immediately goes into the slams, this time performing 4, 5. I mean,
keeps going, doesn't he? This is why
there is a little bit of downtime.
Fight cleanly at the beginning, so you can avoid all of this ultimately, but not managing to. I give Alex some credit here. Like you said, he's got good mechanical control because he did some great job tracking some of those perfect strikes, and now the bullet hell phase is not what he wants.
The second time? That's actually genuinely insane. What?
Quite unfortunate.
And immediately,
no, straight into the dashes and misses again.
I mean, there is that little bit of downtime. Like the boss gets tired after this, so there you go. If Alex can finish it, maybe he's going to be able to skip the firestorm phase.
Oh no, he does manage to land a little hit there. Another one.
Come on, finish it.
One or two more. Oh, the projectiles.
Oh, okay. He takes it. I think it's the correct call. I mean, he could have potentially.
You don't really want to die at this point and redo the whole fight.
Yeah.
Does get the boss down after a much longer fight than I'm sure he probably wanted. Scoping out his gear, he has the right mace base, but
Sarge.
You can't see how it's rolled. Sarge is moving into a boss fight now. I love all the boss fights back to back for us. Very exciting stuff. So we've got the monk now. Let's see how the bells go. You should be able to place those bells pretty quickly. And that's yep.
Giggle blown up. I mean,
that's, I would say, suboptimal. Probably not what he wanted. If I had to analyze it with all of my caster insights,
I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, he got body blocked, like pushed under the wall and hit by the second slam.
Yeah,
Holy.
It's like he got cracked again. He got juggled basically.
Yeah.
on the crackback, he got slammed again. It was absolutely ragdolled by the boss there. Pretty smooth looking kill from Guy That Dies here in the on the Infernalist demon form. Oh yeah, that looked very nice. Yeah, it's not necessarily as bursty, but it's smooth though.
I mean,
I
that
like it.
was really showing the correct management of the stacks as well. He had 40 stacks there when the boss was taking those substantial amounts of damage. And yeah, I mean, those stacks really ramp up and it makes all the difference. Sometimes we've been seeing him deal damage to the boss with, 10, 15 stacks. And I think it's quite insufficient. But if you're managing things correctly, if you're able to stay alive, more importantly, then yeah. Sarge standing far away wants to make sure that he's not getting hit by
Yeah.
any of those openers as he gets
Oh,
cracked right in the
absolutely.
face with the
Yeah, just
normal
a big
attack.
mace stroke. Yeah, it was a huge hit. Oh,
This boss hits hard, and she's
yeah.
mobile too. He gets the freeze off, delivering a ton of damage, dropping the boss
He might-
down to 50% life with those explosions.
Oh, his damage is so juicy, but he's so squishy. Glass cannon mode activated.
Oh man. I mean, no spins this time. He's able to
That's better.
kill the boss. Okay.
Oh, a little bit of the plant, the fungus plants exploding underneath him at the end, just to raise that heart rate just a smidge.
Alex on Viper.
Oh,
Will this
Viper
fight be as smooth? This is such a hard fight.
I was saying before we had a very clean fight from Angormus because it if you can get through quickly, if you have that damage, the fight's just so much easier. But if it goes on for a bit too long, she moves into the much harder phases.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Is Alex going to have the worst of it?
Venom
Is she going to
crit.
push him?
Hold up. Oh, standing underneath the pokes already, not really optimal. That doesn't do a lot of damage, but not a habit that you want to get used to.
Yeah, it costs
As
him a
it is
fast
very
charge early on.
deadly. Yeah.
Oh, she dodges and goes into a full barrage. She eats the entire barrage.
Oh
costs
no.
Another fast
Here we
charge.
go. So this
Yep,
is the
no,
difficult
she's up
phase.
in
You
the
can
air.
still do damage here, but it does a ton of damage if you get hit by these,
Yep.
especially purple explosions.
Purple. Yep. Finds that safe corner, but needs to find a time to re-engage. There we
He
go.
plays
Nice
it
perfect
safe.
strike there to follow up. Eats a bit of a barrage afterwards, though. We're definitely seeing that flask get attrition down at a rapid rate. It's just about down to half now. And another flask charge right back to back, just eating way too many of those barrages. This is gonna be a little iffy in this second half. Moving into
You cannot do damage here, but you can die. Here we go with side.
Oh no!
So generally, the way that you do this. Okay, so the fight gets smaller the longer it goes and the lower HP she has. And then the phase is actually quite random in that sense. But what you generally want to do, because you don't know which side the ads will start their attack from, you want to be in the middle. And Alex doesn't quite do so, and he pays for it with his life. Now he has to wait for a minute, and I think we're going to continue to watch that in just a second. As right now, guy that dies lives.
Comfy. Yeah,
Hopefully.
It's comfy, right? It's cozy. I like this. Oh, it feels so relaxing compared to the earlier fights. You have to try
but look
much
at that
hard.
HP. Look at the HP when he's not potting.
It's doing the thing.
Crazy.
He's okay. He's all right. Alex Lovelord's about to go back into the fight. He's got just a few seconds to wait on his death timer there before he can get back in and seek some vengeance in Viper. This is the bloodbath that I expected to see more of. And Gormus had a clean run. Only one death on Zyclusian, and then just didn't die like impressively through the rest of the zone, which is crazy. This is what I expected to be seeing more of, and now we're getting that bloodbath that I'm sure many of us crave. So Alex Bloodlord moving into their boss fight here. Sarge
Nice
2
dodge.
managing to get through the zone in the lead up to the boss fight.
Man, Alex respecting this boss a little bit too much in the early phases. This is the part where you're supposed to be doing a lot of damage, as long as there's no puddles, as long as she's not in the air, which she is going up, right? Oh, he gets the stun off right as the phase begins.
Amazing. That's exactly what you want. Beautiful.
Oh no! It led straight into the other ad phase. Okay, is he gonna stay in the middle? The arena is still big. He's able to dodge. Alex, don't go into the corner. If it starts at the top, it's gonna get crazy. Okay, he locks out.
Good dodge roll. Good dodge roll. God, that was such a beautiful, perfect strike that got that stun too. It was perfect.
Right?
But very unlucky going to the second one, but I mean, better than having both of them their full duration. So definitely a massive improvement over his first fight, and that was just gorgeous.
He actually gets another one.
Unlucky.
This is so unlucky for Alex. Well played, but unlucky.
And he's shown he knows how to survive it now, so let's just see him do it again.
Top or bottom?
Come on. You can do it, buddy.
Huh?
Did you go? All right, no more spears there on that one. She hops back down.
Does she
with a
only
slam.
do it once?
Yeah, so he gets his chance to finish her off now with some nice perfect strikes. She does float away and dodges that line into another floating phase. The full meteors this
still
time
die
around.
here.
Not going to get that second stun. Yeah, not why you want to die. Getting her that close. He needs one more perfect strike and he's got it. There she is. Right down. She comes down. What? She dodged. How did she dodge?
Something is wrong. I feel like this fight bugged out. I've seen plenty of bugs on this fight, but something was wrong. She was not doing the correct
She can see the
attacks.
code. She did a matrix. The heck?
Okay.
Oh
She
yeah,
can definitely see
something's going on with the guards, maybe. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, something was definitely bugged. Even Alex types out. I mean, even that
Yeah.
second phase on the Warriors was
Hey,
incorrect too. I don't
what
know
better
what's
way
happening.
to find a bug and get a prompt bug fix than to expose it so well, right? Like, look, the devs have exactly what they need to chase that one down now. They can be,
in a
let's have a look
sense,
at that.
it was kind of a positive bug. Like it did make the fight slightly easier. I don't know if it was beneficial for his time
It's a
overall,
sort of
but
mercy. I don't want to take away from his efforts in that fight, though. He played that so
yeah,
well.
that was really
I
good.
think it was probably something to do with the stun, honestly. Like him getting that stun at that exact time.
Yeah,
might
I think
have messed with something, because it's right as she was going to that channel and canceling
guy
it.
that dies
Lives.
is
He's going into his
potentially
fight.
living.
Sarge 2 is getting chased by the entire population of the Val. Just managed to lose them a little bit across the bridge as he goes into his own Viper fight with a few friends. They respect the personal space of Viper and hang on out.
Sarge
we got
is
simultaneous fights now coming up.
Sarge is very tilted. He's typing out a whole bunch of stuff that I don't think the boss cares about. Sarge is working against himself here as both fights are beginning.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Guy that dies. No stacks. Playing it safe. Drops low immediately, though. He cannot afford to lose HP. And he is not going demon form until now. Finally does so, but how much damage can he do? Meanwhile, Sarge dropping that belt, and that's an insane amount of damage on Viper. Can he kill her before she phases and does anything? The freeze came out. Viper is about half.
He's got more fight coming up here, but she's kind of hanging out. She's giving him every opportunity to do all of the damage.
Firestorm phase for Guy. He dodges expertly.
I think he's like expecting something to happen here, but the dots went too low and gets tapped. It looked fine until it wasn't.
Guy with the
gave him the
phase?
best fight. Gave
Which
him
side?
Up
or down, up or down, up or down, down. Dodges nicely. Well done.
Good clean
the
dodge.
arena gets
Well
smaller,
managed.
but that was the hard part. I think he's
so we
got
had
it
very
now.
comfortable boss fights to close out Act 3 for Guy That Dies here on the Infernalist. It definitely has like a nice, safe, clean boss fight potential, this setup with this Ascendancy. So we're seeing the reason for getting that Ascendancy in Act 2 now and how that pays off exactly. So
yeah. I mean, the energy shield amount is really impressive.
Right.
I mean, almost 800 energy shield here for these boss fights. You pretty much always have room to recover it. That makes these fights significantly easier to do. It might make the ad clearing worse, but overall, I haven't really seen him struggle too much.
Yeah, well, since Act 3 is all about that movement anyway, like you get it, you finish off Act 2, and then you're kind of mostly just running through anyway. Alex having to backtrack a bit here, getting into a bad dead end. Not what you want to do there, but actually gets out really cleanly. So you love to see that. Sarge is on there, Viper strike, Viper fight, round 2. Gets the bells down, but eats a lot of poison damage there. Getting nice big bell damage off here as well, getting it down to almost halfway. Respects the slam and gets out of there. He's going to be paying more attention to that ground dot this time around, I suspect. Ooh, almost suffers the same fate as last time. Almost the exact same death, but learns a lesson perhaps.
He
Shields
can damage here.
In meteor phase.
Okay, he goes for the safe approach.
he goes for a bit of damage.
He reconsidered.
Yeah. The monk attacks step you towards the enemy, so there's a bit of movement there, which when you're trying to avoid those things on the ground very carefully, you gotta be a little careful of that.
Oh man, he has a giant dot in the middle. If she does the ad phase now, this is gonna get really tricky. Can he take her down before she goes into that immunity phase?
Kind of using the bell to be able to hit her from outside the dot there. Very nice. Should be able to just close this out just barely. Yeah, nice. Very good. Ooh, a good second attempt there on Viper to get that kill. Queen of Filth on Woody at the moment, which she does like to roll around a bit. If you can stay close to her and keep her still, and keep her in those lightning rods. But that's
She likes
obviously a
to
little
roll
dangerous.
around and eat her children.
does.
This boss is really
Two
something
things.
else. Yeah, 2 things. This is on her Tinder
Two-
profile. Roll around and eat children. That being said, though, looking at the ladder, guy that dies level 37, there is still no second finisher, and Alex
I am
is on
very
Doryani now.
surprised.
Yeah,
Guy that dies
Whole New
is taken
Society.
over from Whole New Society, the mysterious racer in the background, ending up getting more levels after clearing through the Matlam waterways, and now into the Doryani fight. Unless they're both in the Doryani fight, we might actually see second place goes to Alex here. Let's see how he can clean out Doryani here.
Second
First
place
phase.
overall, but also second place warrior. Just to anybody tuning in late, this
Yeah.
is the second place for the Warriors, so he is not going to be getting a demi, but still good practice and a nice fight so far. No
He's going to be
misses on those
getting,
strikes.
yes, not a demi, but kind of like, like a spiritual demi or something, maybe like a semi-demi, maybe something like
Semi-demi.
that.
Oh, okay.
Semi-demi, yeah, kind of a semi-demi in our hearts, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Bit of something sappy insert here. Doryani's second phase. Let's see how he goes. That was a pretty good first phase. He did have the lasers, so I wasn't able to get the quick skip, but nicely dodging the slams so far. Positioning behind. Got to watch out for those butt lasers. Comfortably playing pretty safe, I'd say, overall. Not kind of going for greedy extra perfect strikes. Does get swiped away and has to reposition, wasting a perfect strike attempt.
Ooh.
But not much you can do. Ooh, another slam. Not much you can do about that.
And here
You might be able to get a stun off here at a really opportune time. He's got that
nice.
Bone Shutter. There we go. Very nice. And that gives him an opportunity. That's so unlucky though. He's having to dodge the lasers. Getting the stun during that means that you just waste like 2/3 of the stun. He got one perfect strike where he should have had 3.
He ate the whole thing and lived.
I mean, he's certainly losing some flash charges to those lasers. They're sapping
immunity
him.
phase.
Unfortunate. We did see Angormus also have the same immunity phase, so we'll see how much longer it takes him after that. And we got a nice perfect strike there. Just repositions calmly out of the orbital laser. Then we got the other laser arm going off again. Getting fully harassed here during this last section of the fight. Good perfect strike opportunity here as he does the big slam. Eats another laser, but he can tank those, but you don't want to tank that and a follow-up with the flask still working. Oof, he's eating a bit more than he wants to, I think, but one more. Yeah, the Ignite's got it.
Bonk.
Throws in one on the body just for funsies, but Alex gets it, and let's just check. It might be waiting for the law. You've completed the objective of the race. Let me refresh the ladder. I'm refreshing furiously.
I think he might be second. I don't know what happened with Whole New Society. They've been 35 for a long time. I think they got stuck on one of the boss fights. Maybe Viper. They're
stuck in the Matlam waterways or something. Oh, that's where they were before. And I believe we can call that for guy that dies. We'll wait for the ladder official confirmation there. But he did get second kill. Second warrior, second place overall. A very fine effort from Alex Bloodlord. Some unfortunate upsets throughout the race. A few deaths here and there. Some things that no doubt will be able to be practiced and cleaned up a bit for next week and future races. And I expect we'll be seeing a lot more of Alex during the shoutcasts, because you get in those top 4 spots, you're going to be on the stream. I think Alex is going to be there.
I think so as well. And I think the most important part is, some players haven't been that motivated to practice and whatnot, but once you get the adrenaline rush of participating in an event such as this one, you get motivated real quick. So Alex, known in the past to be a very hardworking player, I think we're going to be seeing great results from him in the future.
We're going to at least be able to see the Monk and Witch close out here if all goes well. So we'll be able to see some of those other class finishes for you during the scope of this official cast. But don't forget that you can jump over to each of the broadcasters that you're interested in seeing and cheer them on as they finish their races, even after the official cast ends as well down the line. But for now, we'll see as Sarge 2 moves through the last zone and Guy That Dies approaches there after just another zone or two. Sarge has been a little squishy on the monk, so I do fear for them a bit as they navigate the black chambers, given the danger level here of them trying to move through some of these packs. I certainly don't want to be killing everything in here. And certainly don't want to be getting stuck in any doors.
Oh. I was going to check
Rax
out
already,
Rax,
already
but
in endgame. Already in endgame. Pretty
Rax is
impressive.
already level 100. Nice job. Well played.
I think this has been a very fun first cast. I expected chaos. I expected a bloodbath. We got that, but we also got some pretty refined plays and lots of really clever little things. I was glad I was able to, learn about those and communicate some of those. I think there's tons of stuff we missed and more things that we'll be able to catch for the next broadcast. So I hope you folks watching the stream have also been enjoying the casting and the races and the effort of the races. I love Path of Exile Racing. We had so many great stories and races over the years for Path of Exile 1. So I'm really excited that we're going to be doing this a bit more for Path of Exile 2 as well, that the community gets together and makes community races, and the GGG does some on their end as well. I think it's really cool content to watch, and I love the shoutcasting aspect of it as well. All right, yeah. Sarge. He's ready. Look, he's ready.
I don't know if he's ready. He doesn't seem very ready. Well, the fight's going nicely so far. He has to build up.
Yeah, he's got to get those charges. It's basically no damage until he gets those bells down, and then all of the damage.
Oh, wow.
It's good. It's good, but he does
back nice
for the explosion, which does happen after he unfreezes. Yeah, he left a bit early because I think he wasn't maybe sure about the freeze stopping the explosion, I think. So he's playing it safe. Fair enough.
Well, yeah,
it could be the chill, really chill slowing down as well, slowing down some of these mechanics, but going into laser phase, managing the positioning really well and getting 3 bells down and doing all of the damage to move into the next phase. Oof, the damage is so good. Just just a little bit fragile, maybe.
Did we see what level he is? I cannot find him on the ladder, and I can see a lot of monks.
He got pretty over leveled, if I recall correctly, due to clearing the Matlan waterways. Sarge 2. I don't know why. It might be a different account name to what he streams under, I think. That's probably what's going on.
I can see him. He is level 30. He is position 47. And there are approximately 10 monks above him on the ladder. He is not over leveled. He's doing this.
It's the opposite. He's doing the pushing through just barely at level 30, which is kind of, that's the strategy. So that's interesting.
There's a level 36 Invoker, currently 5th on the ladder. This is very competitive. Sarge might not be the first monk to do so.
Depends on if they're just grinding levels right now or if they're fighting Doryani, doesn't it?
Oh! That just straight one taps him. He didn't see it. It was above. It was above
right
him.
At the top of his screen.
Yeah.
There's that little preparation laser, but that does not give a ton of time to react.
Let's go.
Yep. Yes, to wait that timer now does give a bit more chance for some of those other higher level characters. I mean, yeah, he's pushing through at the bare minimum level of 30, which is, what people are aiming for that have the ability and confidence to do that. But it is tough, obviously. We can see that while the warrior earlier, Alex was able to tank those lasers. One of those lasers is enough to kill the monk here with 580 health. Just
officially
dead.
Alex is the second warrior to do so at 3 hours, 8 minutes, and 45 seconds. And we have a third one as well. Lundbear with the 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 42 seconds. So only 4 minutes apart between second and third place.
Oh, interestingly, closing out the race at level 28 as well. So had a slower, more careful run than Gormus, but the same strategy overall of that bare minimum level. That exact same level 28 level.
Just Guy That Dies gets close to Doryani. This is going to be close between Sarge and Guy. Obviously, they're playing a different class, but still, you want as many brownie points as possible.
Absolutely.
Sarge
definitely want to be
delivering a
able to
tremendous amount of damage.
you definitely want to be able to have that one if you can. But yeah, if Sarge has another upset, then that will equalize the playing field.
Oh
And
my god!
I shouldn't have said it. I shouldn't have.
He might have been a little under leveled. I don't know. It's getting close now. There is a level 36 invoker, guys, that can absolutely defeat Sarge here. He might be the first one to be at the boss, but will he be the first one to complete this boss fight at level 30, just 585 life?
Well, what
That's
we've
tough.
seen here is that Guy That Dies has had these just like clean, cozy, comfortable, confident kills, right? Like the stack management in a longer fight like this might be a little tricky, we'll see. But he's done a really good job with those life blasts and watching that life and making sure that the energy shield hasn't gotten really low. And the damage is clean and consistent. Like it just keeps going, right? Like the bar's moving down. Like dot
Tricky
style.
fight.
Working really
Tricky fight
well.
for Woody Joe too.
Mate,
The
just,
bottom
that's
left, Woody Joe.
That's a gorgeous first phase. No lasers? No, that's actually insane. Oh, wait, just gets the lasers.
I'm like, wait, I think so. You're a little bit behind me. I'm like, I'm seeing lasers right now.
Oh, let me refresh. Yep. I thought he maybe just got that kill quick enough, but does have the lasers come up.
Woody Joe staying in the bottom part. If he gets RNG'd here, he might actually die. Will it start at the top? Oh,
the dodges.
So lucky. He started
those are amazing iframe dodges. Woody's got really nice control on that. Oh, good damage too. All right, we've got the simultaneous Doryani fights from Guy That Dies. Guy That Dies in the second phase, Sarge 2, moving through the first phase, hopefully without any more incidents, so that we can have a very close finish here between these two. But Guy That Dies, Infernalist Demon kill, just looking so smooth and comfortable. It can just maintain damage through every attack that the boss does, not having to, do all of this rolling around like Sarge is doing right now, right?
And this is so good because Terrence and Woody Joe are both mercenary. They're competing for first, while Guy and Sarge are, they're friends. They want to beat the other person. Everybody's friendly here with each other. So even though they're not on the same class, you want to make sure that you can say, hey, I defeated you in that one race, the first race.
The butt laser there, the only thing so far that's really made the Infernalists have to run around, and they do lose demon form here at the end, so I have to go back to oh no, there we go. Back into demon form to finish off the Doryani fight. It looks like, unless we've got some massive burst from Sarge here. He does. He's trying to push that damage right now. Maybe he knows.
I mean, you say that, but Guy has one flask, I believe. Maybe that's 2 charges at best.
Than he maybe wants for the best here, but he's got that kill closed out.
Nice. Okay.
Yo, Guy That Dies takes down the kill, resets checkpoint just to be safe. I guess, or just pauses. Completed the objective of the race. Congratulations to Guy That Dies for taking first witch.
Potentially.
I guess. Infernalist witch.
And he ascended too.
Yeah.
Sarge!
No, a third death to Doryani. Giving ample opportunity for some of the other high-level characters.
Terrence has no flash.
Losing that 30%
HP. Boss is at half. Terrence, what's happening here?
The bloodbath.
Oh, he resets. Yeah. He doesn't think he can do it. He resets. And Woody Joe completed his fight. Did he?
How do you climb back from that, right? Like, you can't get those flasks back. He actually doesn't go back and refill the flasks here, so he's entering this fight with no flasks this time. So I don't know if that's going to put him in a better position. He's going to have to do this whole fight with no flasks now, which with all the poison damage is really hard to do. He's got no way to heal. I don't know that he realizes that he doesn't have his flask. I think he does now.
He knows, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to because you're already at that checkpoint. You got to get that refill. So we'll see him go back and do that now. Unfortunately, it costs a bit of extra time to get that refill there, but necessary to get through that fight. If you're trying a perfect strike, she's got those dots on the ground. You just have to have those charges. All right, Sarge, you can do it, mate. Get back in there. I believe. I think what we're seeing now is Sarge's time advantage gained by underleveling being eroded due to the the deaths and the squishiness that are the cost of that approach. It's the right play if you can pull it off, but you have to find that fine line where you can manage to just pull it off. All right, here we go.
This is it.
Is this take 4? Take 4. This is the final take. We'll call it that. A very nice
only take that matters
through the first phase. All he has to do now is just kind of run around and dodge the lasers, and Doryani will go into the no, stop. Yes, ultimate power.
And
Stop
lasers
Doryani.
too.
Yeah, he just has to kind of dodge and hang out for now. Trying to get that health down a little bit more.
Start
All right,
joking.
moving into that
This is
second
Prime.
phase now. He's doing it. He's doing it.
Come on, Sarge. I believe in you. Start joking.
Here we go. Second phase. Let's go.
He brought it on
The robot,
himself.
he's got this. So
Dropping-
what's gotten him? The laser. He's got to watch out for the orbital laser. The
butt
little
laser,
hands
as you
zapping him.
described
Yeah.
it. The butt laser
that's
got
the
him
one.
last time.
The butt laser. Oh, the butt laser is brutal. You do have to watch out for that one. So it's all the variants of the lasers really. He gets that nice big freeze.
Nice.
The bells are down. The damage is big. Right underneath Doryani there. Nicely cleaned dodge. Maintains damage uptime on the bells. Goes a little low on mana, but doesn't really interrupt attacks with good mana flask timing. He's maintaining very solid damage. He's got to watch that laser now, though. Here it comes. Oh, he's dodge rolling, kind of like just kind of sticking to Doryani's underbody there. And if you roll if you push that too far, like that gives you optimal dodge roll, but if you push that too far, you end up.
Oh, he freezes it. Oh no, it might speed up the animation now. Is he gonna get slammed?
He's okay. He gets
out.
He knew. Watch the follow-ups.
Scary. I would have walked away. He has no mana, by the way. No mana flask, and mana is depleting quickly. I think
I
he's
see
got one charge.
I see one mana flask charge there. He's got one charge, which is exactly that's exactly what he needs. He's got it. It's just enough. Very nice. That's what he wanted. That's what he needed. That was night and day compared to the earlier fights that looked confident. Very good.
Oh my god.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't realize.
Ziggy, you don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know what just happened.
No.
Okay, in the middle of this fight, guy that dies completed his fight, right? But there is another Infernalist at level 31 that also completed the fight. Guy that dies time is 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 12 seconds.
What?
The other person is 3 hours, 18 minutes,
and
12 seconds. They're the same time. Then we have two witches at the same time, but 7 levels apart.
Exactly identical times. I wonder if they go down to the fraction of a second or if it sorts on level.
I have no idea.
I actually don't know. I mean, the ladder says guy that dies won on my end, but it's exactly the same time.
It might be levels.
Okay, we've talked about close finishes before, but I don't think we've ever had a finish that close.
They've got the same time. I mean, guy that dies is ahead on the ladder, but I don't know. We're gonna need a ruling here from production.
Do they both win, or does neither of them win? It's only first place, and they neither of them. They tied for second. Tied for first. I don't know. I mean, I think ultimately it goes off whatever the ladder says, and maybe that comes down to the fraction of a second. Maybe that comes down to 11. I'm not sure. We've never had a situation where it was the exact same second before, so I don't know how that one plays.
Oh man, Terran's still on Viper, but in the middle of
the admins are checking now. The admins they're reviewing the footage. They're getting the slow motion camera, doing the nano measurements on the footage, and we'll find out.
Mercenary finish. Whole New Society has finished the mercenary run.
Yep. Yeah, so Whole New Society was the mystery runner in the background that was tailing Angormus for much of the run, only kind of losing out towards the end and ending up over-leveling quite a bit, maybe getting stuck somewhere in Act 3. Not streaming, so we weren't able to check in on them, but they did manage to close out the win on Mercenary, which does prevent our other mercenaries from taking that first place. But we might not know until later this afternoon. I mean, I'm thinking that whatever the ladder says goes, right? Rank 4, guy that dies, and ZIGGYD in the background with the exact same time. Maybe unfortunately taking second, but I guess we'll get an official ruling on that later. But that will close out the official broadcast and commentary for the first ever Path of Exile 2 race. It has been an absolute blast. I've had a pleasure casting with you, Rice, mate. It's always good to get together and do some race casting with you. So, how'd you like that one, mate? What do you think? Meet expectations?
It started off a little slow. People were close to each other. There wasn't too much action. A lot to talk about in terms of what's happening in these races and the preparation that the players have gone through. But the finish, especially on the Infernalist, is quite juicy. I think we're
Yeah,
going
I
to see a
assume we'll
lot
get
of
an announcement.
adjustments.
Yeah, they said they're going to be able to do an announcement about that or get a note on that later in the day. So we'll find out about that one later. But mate, I don't think I've ever seen a to the second finish before. So I love that. But don't forget, even though the official commentary here comes to a close at this point, you can still go cheer on your favorite racers that are playing some of the other classes that we didn't see. Or that, just go around and check out some of the other races, cheer them on. And we will see you fine folks again next week for some more PoESports race casting. And I look forward to seeing how strategies evolve, how the stories grow. And I can't wait to see, do we see Angormus take another win and speed up the time even more? Or do some of the others work out some of those kinks and close the gap a little bit?
I think so. I mean, honestly, in PoE1 history, at least, the level discrepancy has never been this large. As much as players were talking about how, there's differences in classes. Yeah, that's a thing in every game. There's going to be a difference in classes. But the fact that some players were level 38 and some players were level 28, more importantly, the number one player was level 28. I think that's really going to change up in the next race. There's going to be a lot more consistency, and I really can't wait to watch people practice and figure out whether level 28 is better or maybe the 36 is really the way going forward. Super exciting stuff. Great race. Thank you, Ziggy.
Thanks, Rise, and thanks GG for getting us together as well. I appreciate that they're putting some races together during this kind of like downtime while we wait for the new league, just for us to have something cool to watch, for some of the to support the racing community, help grow it up, and build those initial kind of grassroots for that to grow from for the future. So I hope that we see lots of races over the years and I get to do lots of casts with you, Rise. Alrighty, thanks very much for watching. Go check out some of the other races, but that is going to be it for now. I'm ZIGGYD with RaizQT, and thanks very much for watching.